Chapter 12-19. Sensing the commotion outside the courtyard, Mo Qingyun and Niu Wei did not hesitate and immediately rushed out of the courtyard. When Mo Qingyun and Niu Wei arrived outside the courtyard, the two of them stood rooted to the ground and looked at Niu Kuei in shock. This last chased after Huang Bing and the others, and with a thunderous momentum, she ruthlessly taught them a lesson. Seeing Mo Qingyun and Niu Wei appear, Niu Kuei revealed a proud expression. Lifting her delicate face, she walked in front of Mo Qingyun and said proudly, "Junior Qingyun, do you think senior sister is awesome?" "Nope." Hearing Niu Kuei's words, Mo Qingyun instinctively replied. However, after Mo Qingyun's words left his mouth, he realized that something was wrong. He wanted to explain to Niu Kuei, "Senior sister, what I meant was," however, before Mo Qingyun could finish his words, he was interrupted by Niu Kuei, who was embarrassed and angry. Niu Kuei's face was incomparably red as she stared angrily at Mo Qingyun with her beautiful eyes. She stuttered for a long time but was unable to say anything. She was too shy. She, Niu Kuei, had never met anyone who dared to speak to her like that. "Humph." After glaring angrily at Mo Qingyun for a moment, Niu Kuei snorted and turned around to leave. Phew! Seeing Niu Kuei turn around and leave, Mo Qingyun and Niu Wei's expressions relaxed as they deeply exhaled. After taking a few deep breaths, Niu Wei gave Mo Qingyun a thumbs up and said, "Brother Mo, you're really awesome. You actually dared to speak to my second sister like that. More importantly, my second sister actually did not beat you up. It seems like she's interested in you. Brother Niu, don't make fun of me. You know that's not what I meant." Hearing Niu Wei's words, Mo Qingyun felt a headache coming on. He couldn't explain it clearly now. Niu Wei smiled meaningfully at Mo Qingyun's explanation. He winked at Mo Qingyun and said, "Brother Mo, you don't have to explain to me. I understand everything. With my second sister's peerless beauty, there are very few men who would not be moved by her. It's just that they don't have the guts to say it out loud." Mo Qingyun was speechless and felt even more depressed. Seeing Mo Qingyun remain silent, Niu Wei thought that he had guessed correctly. His expression became even more interesting as he used his elbow to poke Mo Qingyun's arm and said, "Brother Mo, if you are really interested in my second sister, I, Brother Niu, can do my best to help you seduce her. Brother Bull, you win." Seeing Niu Wei's actions, Mo Qingyun immediately surrendered. He turned around and walked into the courtyard. He knew that if he continued to argue with Niu Wei, it would only get dirtier. Seeing Mo Qingyun walk into the courtyard, Niu Wei hurriedly followed, completely ignoring Huang Bing and the rest. When Mo Qingyun and Niu Wei entered the courtyard, Huang Bing climbed up from the ground with difficulty. He looked at Mo Qingyun with a gloomy gaze and said angrily, "Mo Qingyun, it's fine if you don't agree to join the Eternal Life Association, but you actually let Niu Kuei humiliate us. I, Huang Bing, will remember this," Huang Bing said angrily. Then, he led his followers and limped away from the place. Mo Qingyun didn't know about Huang Bing's current behavior. Of course, even if he knew, Mo Qingyun probably wouldn't care. What he was worried about now was how to explain his slip of the tongue to Niu Kuei. Niu Wei followed Mo Qingyun into the courtyard and told Mo Qingyun about Niu Kuei's good point. In the face of Niu Wei's performance, Mo Qingyun was completely defeated. Helpless, Mo Qingyun could only use cultivation as an excuse to send Niu Wei away. After sending Niu Wei away, Mo Qingyun discarded all distracting thoughts in his mind and entered the 5-directional small pagoda to cultivate. In Mo Qingyun's opinion, since things had already come to this, there was no point in continuing to think about it. In this case, he might as well cultivate. When the time came, he could just block soldiers with arms and water with an earth weir. Since there were only a few days left until the end of the wilderness meet, Mo Qingyun didn't go into closed-door cultivation. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed in the 5-directional small pagoda, which was equivalent to 3 days in the outside world. At this moment, Mo Qingyun, who had been cultivating, got up and left the 5-directional small pagoda. During these days of cultivation, his ability to condense battle intent had improved a little. After leaving the 5-directional small pagoda, Mo Qingyun directly opened the door and walked out of the room. When Mo Qingyun walked out of the room, he found that other than the ghost moon Saintess and Chu Yunyun, Niu Wei and Niu Kuei were also in the courtyard. When Niu Kuei saw Mo Qingyun walk out of the room, her beautiful face immediately flushed red. She looked at Mo Qingyun shyly. Seeing Niu Kuei here, Mo Qingyun immediately revealed an awkward expression. He couldn't help but feel a little guilty. Fortunately, other than acting a little shy, Niu Kuei didn't blame Mo Qingyun. Brother Mo, the wilderness meets assessment has ended. The results have been announced on the gold roll. Seeing Mo Qingyun walk out of the room, Niu Wei explained to Mo Qingyun. He then said to Mo Qingyun, I know where the gold roll is posted. I'll take the 3 of you there. Thank you, Brother Niu. Hearing Niu Wei's words, Mo Qingyun nodded indifferently and thanked Niu Wei. Then, Mo Qingyun and the others rushed to the place where the results were announced under Niu Wei's lead. Before long, under Niu Wei's lead, Mo Qingyun arrived at a dazzling and magnificent hall. At the top of the hall and on the left and right sides there were huge golden rolls hanging. These 3 golden rolls marked the results of the core disciples, elite disciples, and ordinary disciples respectively. After glancing at the 3 rolls, Mo Qingyun looked at the roll at the top of the hall. This was where the core disciple assessment results were announced. Core disciple ranking list: 1st place, Ji was 2nd place, Qian Guangsuan 3rd place, Sun Yu 4th place, Tong Juanping 5th place, Yuan Xie 6th place, Xing He 7th place, Yan Chong 8th place, Duan Sanfeng 9th place, Zhou Chongshuan 10th place, Sha Qianren 46th place, Mo Qingyun 171 st place, Gui Yu 172nd place, Chu Yunyun. After glancing at the core disciple ranking list, Mo Qingyun's expression became more dignified. He was very surprised by his own ranking. Mo Qingyun really did not expect that his ranking in this Savage Meets assessment would be below the 40th place. It seemed that the competition in this savage continent was even more intense than what he had expected. 46th place, I really dropped a lot. After knowing his ranking, Mo Qingyun could not help but sigh in his heart. He was not satisfied with his result. Compared to Mo Qingyun's dissatisfaction, Gui Yu Saintess and Chu Yunyun smiled sweetly and congratulated Qingyun excitedly. Qingyun, congratulations on entering the top 50. Yes, Brother Mo, you are really amazing. I was in the top 90. Niu Wei said with admiration. Chapter 12:20. As soon as this person spoke, everyone's gaze turned to him. Their expressions were filled with surprise. In everyone's opinion, this person's words were undoubtedly a provocation to Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun naturally could not back down when he saw someone humiliating him. He looked at the other party coldly. When Mo Qingyun looked at the other party, he released his soul power to sense the other party's cultivation. Peak Immortal Fog Realm. After sensing this person's cultivation, Mo Qingyun's expression turned grave, and his face became even colder. Mo Qingyun believed that there was no conflict between him and the other party. However, if this person wanted to humiliate him unscrupulously just because his cultivation was strong, he would not accept it. In Mo Qingyun's opinion, this person's behavior was no different from Zhu Ye's a few days ago. His face was just as ugly. Although Mo Qingyun did not like to cause trouble, it did not mean that he was afraid of it. If someone wanted to trample on him to show off their identity and status, he would absolutely not tolerate it. Although a peak Immortal Fog Realm cultivation was strong, it was not enough to make Mo Qingyun back down. If he used all his trump cards, Mo Qingyun might be able to kill him. After the crowd looked at this person, They recognized his identity and started whispering to each other. I know that person. He's called 100 Transformation Golden Peak. He's ranked 41st on the Core Disciple ranking. It's said that 100 Transformation Golden Peak has been training in the Golden Wave Ancient Road. I didn't expect his strength to be so shocking. I'm afraid you guys don't know. I heard that 100 Transformation Golden Peak has a cousin who has some enmity with Mo Qingyun. If that's the case, 100 Transformation Golden Peak is humiliating Mo Qingyun on behalf of his cousin. After some discussion, they finally knew the source of the conflict between Mo Qingyun and 100 Transformation Golden Peak. 100 Transformations Golden Peak? Mo Qingyun knew the identity of this person after hearing the words of the people around him. A mocking expression appeared on his face as he said, "If I remember correctly, the ancestors of your 100 Transformation clan seem to have come from the demon path as well, right? Could it be that the ancestors of your 100 Transformation clan are also country bumpkins who have never seen the world?" Mo Qingyun's words left the Golden Peak speechless. He didn't know how to refute Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun's words were correct. Their 100 Transformation clan's ancestor was indeed born on the Devil Path. The Demon Road was the same as the Immortal Road. They were both one of the 7 great ancient roads. According to Mo Qingyun's theory, if Mo Qingyun was a country bumpkin who hadn't seen the world, then he would be able to do so. In that case, the ancestors of their 100 Transformations clan were indeed country bumpkins who had never seen the world. Cousin Golden Peak. At that moment, when Mo Qingyun was talking back to the 100 Transformation Golden Peak, the 100 Transformation Devil's Son was displeased. He slowly walked towards the 100 Transformation Golden Peak and said, "Cousin Golden Peak, you don't have to talk nonsense with this kid. This kid is only good with his mouth." Only good with his mouth? Upon hearing the 100 Transformation Devil's Son's words, the corners of Mo Qingyun's eyes narrowed slightly. He looked at the 100 Transformation Devil's Son and said mockingly, "100 Transformation Devil's Son, if I'm only good with my mouth, why did you get beaten up like a dead dog when we fought back then?" The moment Mo Qingyun's words left his mouth, the surroundings went into an uproar. Everyone had curious looks on their faces. Following which, everyone looked at the 100 Transformation Devil's Son with mocking gazes and pointed at him. In everyone's opinion, the 100 Transformation Devil's Son was really asking for humiliation by saying such words. Upon seeing the reactions of the surrounding people, the 100 Transformation Devil's Son's face turned ugly. He roared furiously, "Mo Qingyun, you're courting death." As soon as the 100 Transformation Devil's Son finished speaking, he blasted a palm strike towards Mo Qingyun, wanting to kill Mo Qingyun. "Cousin Golden Peak, stop it." Upon seeing the 100 Transformation Devil's Son's actions, the 100 Transformation Golden Peak immediately panicked. He blocked the 100 Transformation Devil's Son's attack and said, "Fighting is not allowed here. We'll deal with him slowly in the future." After blocking the 100 Transformation Devil's Son's attack, the 100 Transformation Golden Peak instructed the 100 Transformation Devil's Son before pulling him away and leaving. Upon seeing the 100 Transformation Devil's Son and Golden Peak leave, the surrounding people's gazes also retracted one after another. Disappointment surfaced on their faces. In their opinion, it was really a pity that they didn't get to see Mo Qingyun and the 100 Transformation Devil's Son fight. Upon seeing that the 100 Transformation Devil's Son and Golden Peak had left, Mo Qingyun no longer paid any attention to them and continued to watch the results of the other participants. At this moment, Zhu Yi, who had been hiding in the surrounding crowd, revealed a gloating smile and said, "Kid, I didn't expect you to have so many enemies. Not only did you offend Yuan Xie, who was ranked 5th among the core disciples, but you also offended 100 Transformation Golden Peak, who was ranked 37th, and 100 Transformation Yuanshan, who was ranked 62nd. Just wait for your death." After feeling pleased with himself, Zhu Yi once again hid in the crowd, not daring to provoke Mo Qingyun again. While Zhu Yi was gloating, Yuan Xie, who was at the side, had a displeased look on his face as he shifted his gaze away from Mo Qingyun. Upon seeing Yuan Xie's displeasure, a man wearing a silver mask beside him said in a gloomy tone, "Big brother Yuan Xie, do you need me to get rid of Mo Qingyun?" "No need. He's just an unknown kid. There's no need for you, silver-masked Yun Xing, to get rid of him." Upon hearing the silver-masked man's words, Yuan Xie shook his head indifferently and stopped the silver-masked man from getting rid of Mo Qingyun. He said, "Let the 100 transformation Golden Peak duo play with him first. If the 100 transformation Golden Peak duo can't handle him, it won't be too late for you to get rid of him then." "Alright." Upon hearing Yuan Xie's words, the silver-masked man, Yun Xing, nodded and decided to follow Yuan Xie's arrangements. Mo Qingyun didn't notice the conversation between Yuan Xie and the silver-masked man, as well as Zhu Ye's gloating expression. Of course, given Mo Qingyun's character, even if he knew, he wouldn't care too much. As the saying went, there was no need to worry about too many debt. After a while Mo Qingyun and the others were watching the results of the rankings, Xiang Xie and Niu Xing walked in. "Greetings, emissary." Seeing the arrival of Xiang Xie and Niu Xing, everyone in the hall showed a respectful expression and bowed towards the two of them. "No need for formalities." Xiang Xie and Niu Xing smiled faintly and nodded at everyone's greetings. "Since the ranking of the Savage Gathering is out, then follow us to the Holy Spring and receive the baptism of the Savage Holy Qi." As soon as Niu Xing and Xiang Xie finished speaking, the two of them walked out of the hall and led Mo Qingyun and the others to receive the baptism of the Holy Qi. Seeing Niu Xing and Xiang Xie's actions, no one dared to hesitate and followed the two of them out of the hall. Chapter 12:21. Arriving in front of the Holy Spring, Mo Qingyun and the others were all shocked by the scene in front of them. They saw a huge waterfall, tens of thousands of feet high, pouring down from a cliff into the cold pool below, stirring up hundreds of feet high waves. Downstream of this cold pool there was a huge lake, in which there were many huge lotuses and leaves. Even the smallest of those lotuses and leaves was about 1 meter in diameter. Below these lotuses and leaves, there was a layer of milky white mist on the surface of the lake, emitting a very pure spiritual power. This milky white mist should be the so-called wild holy qi. At this moment, when Mo Qingyun and the others were looking at the lotuses and leaves, Niu Xing said with a serious face, "This is the holy spring. The wild holy qi in the holy spring can not only refine your bodies and make them stronger, but also refine your souls and make them tougher." Niu Xing explained the many benefits of the wild holy qi to Mo Qingyun and the others, then said, "All in all, you will understand the real effect of the wild holy qi after you absorb it. The lotuses and leaves in the lake are where you will cultivate from now on." After Niu Xing finished, Xiang Xie pointed at the lotuses and leaves, then said, "Different sizes of the lotuses and leaves will gather wild holy qi at different speeds. Next, I will arrange your cultivation positions. After you walk onto your positions, you should try to absorb as much wild holy qi as possible, which will be very beneficial to your future cultivation. Jizhua, you go to the first lotus. Qian Guangxuan, you go to the second lotus." Under Xiang Xie's instructions, the others walked to different lotuses and leaves, absorbing the wild holy qi in the lake to cultivate. After a while, when everyone walked to their positions, Mo Qingyun found a pattern. The core disciples were all on lotuses of different sizes, the elite disciples were on lotus leaves with diameters ranging from 10 meters to 100 meters, and the ordinary disciples were on lotus leaves with diameters less than 10 meters. It seemed that the difference in treatment between different ranks was huge. Since Mo Qingyun and the 100-change Golden Peak were close to each other, their lotuses were not far from each other. Humph! Looking at Mo Qingyun, who was not far from him, the 100-change Golden Peak snorted and started to absorb the wild holy qi around him like crazy. It was unknown whether the 100-change golden peak did it intentionally or not, but when he was absorbing the wild holy chi around Mo Qingyun, he also took a lot of it. Can we take their wild holy chi? Seeing the 100 transformations golden peak's action, Mo Qingyun's expression suddenly changed. He was very surprised by this scene. In Mo Qingyun's opinion, the amount of savage holy chi everyone absorbed was related to the lotus flowers and leaves they chose. From the looks of it, he was still too naive. Judging from the actions of the 100 transformations golden peak, the amount of savage holy chi one could obtain had a lot to do with one's strength. Humph! You just found out? Seeing Mo Qingyun's surprised expression, Golden Peak of 100 transformations immediately looked smug. He sneered, Mo Qingyun, you won't get any savage Saint Chi when we absorb it with all our might. Brother Golden Peak, don't worry. We won't let this kid get any wild holy chi. Boy, the wild holy chi is not something that a person at the 3rd level of the celestial realm is qualified to enjoy. If you know what's good for you, you should leave the holy spring now and watch us cultivate. After the 100-change Golden Peak's words, the people around Mo Qingyun started to scold him. Judging by their behavior, they were probably bought over by the 100-change Golden Peak. You want me to not get any wild holy chi? Mo Qingyun revealed a mocking smile when he saw everyone's reaction. He sneered in disdain and said, I think you guys think too highly of yourselves. Since that's the case, don't blame me for being impolite. Devouring Gate, devour! As soon as Mo Qingyun finished his words, he unleashed the Devouring Gate and devoured the wild holy chi around him. Under the absorption of the Devouring Gate, the surrounding wild holy chi formed a whirlpool and gathered towards the Devouring Gate. Soon, the dozens of lotuses around Mo Qingyun no longer had the slightest bit of wild Saint Chi. After seeing this scene, not only were the disciples in the midst of cultivation shocked, even Xiang Xie and Niu Xing had the same shocked expression. The current situation was far beyond their expectations. To put it bluntly, Mo Qingyun's current performance could already be considered the first of its kind in all of history. What an amazing superpower! It has such an amazing devouring power. This kid is really ruthless. Is he planning to monopolize all the wild holy chi? Isn't he afraid of angering the crowd? Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance in the holy spring, Niu Xing and Xiang Xie smiled bitterly. They were completely convinced by Mo Qingyun's actions. They had to admit that Mo Qingyun's actions were really ruthless. At this moment, while Xiang Xie and Niu Xing were smiling bitterly, the 100 transformation Golden Peak roared with a ferocious expression. Senior, Mo Qingyun cheated with superpower and took the wild holy chi in an improper way. He should be disqualified from absorbing the wild holy chi. That's right. This Mo Qingyun is despicable and shameless. He has no right to absorb the wild holy chi. This Mo Qingyun has disregarded the rules of the Eternal South Immortal Palace. He should be executed on the spot. That's right. If we don't kill Mo Qingyun, we won't be able to calm everyone's anger. Under the fanning of the 100 transformation Golden Peak, everyone looked at Mo Qingyun with envy and jealousy. They all wanted Xiang Xie and Niu Xing to punish Mo Qingyun. However, they did not know that there was no rule in the Eternal South Immortal Palace that one could not use superpower to take the wild holy chi. Even if there was such a rule, with Xiang Xie and Niu Xing's relationship with Mo Qingyun, they would not punish Mo Qingyun. There is no rule in the Eternal South Immortal Palace that one cannot use superpower to take the wild holy chi. Therefore, Mo Qingyun's actions are not against the rules. Hearing the dissatisfied words of the crowd, Xiang Xie replied with a serious expression. He then said to the crowd, Also, if you don't hurry up and absorb the wild holy chi, you won't be able to get any wild holy chi later. Hearing Xiang Xie's words, the crowd suddenly panicked and began to snatch the remaining wild holy chi. For them, snatching the remaining wild holy chi was the key. As for Mo Qingyun, they could deal with him later. Seeing that the crowd was snatching the remaining wild holy qi and no longer bothering about Mo Qingyun, Xiang Xie and Niu Xing were relieved. Chapter 12:22. Under everyone's absorption, the wild holy qi lingering on the surface of the lake was decreasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. After more than 20 hours, the wild holy qi drifting on the surface of the lake was finally divided up by everyone. Next, if they wanted to obtain more wild holy qi, they could only do it through the lotus leaves and lotus flowers under them. Through the lotus flowers and lotus leaves under them, the absorption speed of the wild holy qi contained in the lake was undoubtedly several times slower. However, Mo Qingyun did not care about this. After all, he had already obtained enough wild holy qi. In the previous 20 hours, nearly half of the wild holy qi on the surface of the lake had been directly plundered by Mo Qingyun. This showed how much wild holy qi Mo Qingyun had plundered. Seeing the amount of wild holy qi that Mo Qingyun had plundered, the others were envious. They could not wait to snatch the wild holy qi from Mo Qingyun. However, due to the presence of Xiang Xie and Niu Xing, although they had this thought, they did not dare to directly express it. This Mo Qingyun is so lucky. He has mastered the method of devouring spiritual power. So what if he has plundered a large amount of wild holy qi? I don't believe that he can refine it all in a short time. If Mo Qingyun can't refine the wild holy qi, we may be able to snatch some of it. At this moment, everyone's eyes were filled with intense greed as they looked at Mo Qingyun. Seeing the greedy looks on everyone's faces, Mo Qingyun only smiled disdainfully and didn't pay too much attention to their actions. After glancing at everyone around, Mo Qingyun ignored them and began to refine the wild holy qi in his body. For Mo Qingyun, the most important thing now was to refine the wild holy qi in his body. There were two advantages to doing so. First, he could get rid of the wild holy qi. Second, he could improve his strength and increase his ability to protect himself. Just as Niu Xing had said, the wild holy qi could not only change a warrior's physical strength, but it could also refine a warrior's soul strength. Under the cleansing of the abundant savage Saint Qi, the strength of Mo Qingyun's body and divine soul had been significantly improved and strengthened. Sensing the improvement of his body and soul, Mo Qingyun's refining speed of the wild holy qi became much faster than before. In this way, Mo Qingyun spent the rest of the time refining the savage holy qi. About a month later, Mo Qingyun's physical body had successfully improved to the level of a middle-grade immortal item. After Mo Qingyun's physical strength had improved, the effect of the holy qi of the wilderness on his body had obviously weakened by several levels. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun stopped using the savage Saint Qi to train his body and improve his physical strength. From Mo Qingyun's point of view, since the wild holy qi had refined his body, it had reached a state of saturation. It would be a waste to continue using the wild holy qi to refine his body. It was really a waste of God's gift. After all, the wild holy qi was an extremely precious cultivation resource. Using it was equivalent to using it less. Immediately, the remaining wild holy qi was used by Mo Qingyun to refine his soul. Under the refinement of the wild holy qi, the stability of Mo Qingyun's sea of consciousness was immediately strengthened at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was as if a pool made of mud had suddenly turned into a pool made of pure gold. Of course, under the refinement of the wild holy qi, Mo Qingyun's soul had also been greatly strengthened, apart from the obvious improvement of his sea of consciousness. The seven-colored lotus seed of the golden lotus of fate in Mo Qingyun's sea of consciousness had obviously grown bigger, and its heartbeat had become more rhythmic. Crack, after an unknown period of time, a crisp cracking sound was heard in Mo Qingyun's mind. Noticing the movement in his sea of consciousness, Mo Qingyun quickly sensed his sea of consciousness. he found that there was an obvious crack in the 7-colored lotus seed in his sea of consciousness. Moreover, this crack was still expanding at a speed visible to the naked eye. After a few hours, the 7-colored lotus seed in Mo Qingyun's sea of consciousness had completely split open. After the 7-colored lotus seed split open, a thumb-sized baby jumped out of the 7-colored lotus seed. When the baby jumped out of the 7-colored lotus seed, there was a very strange connection between him and Mo Qingyun. It was as if Mo Qingyun was the baby, and the baby was Mo Qingyun. Is this the primordial spirit? Sensing the baby in his sea of consciousness, Mo Qingyun could not help but be shocked. He recalled the records on some ancient scrolls. It was rumored that an ancient ability user could make his soul develop consciousness and eventually turn it into a living body. In this way, not only could it improve the cultivation speed of the soul, but it could also increase the attack and defense power of the soul. In addition, according to some ancient records, once the primordial spirit was successfully condensed, as long as the primordial spirit was not destroyed, the person would be immortal. For warriors, this was one more way to save their lives. After the primordial spirit was successfully condensed, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and continued to use the wild holy qi to refine it. Under the refinement of the wild holy qi, the strength of Mo Qingyun's primordial spirit was strengthened at a speed visible to the naked eye. Just like that, another month passed. At this moment, the strengthening speed of Mo Qingyun's primordial spirit finally slowed down a lot. Now, the appearance of Mo Qingyun's primordial spirit had greatly changed from its initial appearance. Now, the appearance of Mo Qingyun's primordial spirit was no different from Mo Qingyun himself. It was already in the form of an adult. In addition, the primordial spirit had become more proficient in using some secret skills. Of course, the height of the primordial spirit was still the same. There was not much change. At this moment, when the strengthening of Mo Qingyun's primordial spirit reached a bottleneck, the cultivation time in the wild holy qi ended. Mo Qingyun and the others did not hesitate to leave the holy spring as their cultivation time in the untamed holy qi came to an end. When they left the holy spring, they still looked at Mo Qingyun with strong greed and coldness in their eyes. In their opinion, Mo Qingyun had plundered so much desolation Saint Qi before, so there should be a lot that had not been refined. In fact, their guess was right. Mo Qingyun did not have time to refine some of the wild holy qi that he had taken. Seeing everyone's reaction, Mo Qingyun guessed what they were thinking, and a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. After these days of cultivation, his strength had increased by a lot, and there was a big difference between him and his previous strength. Chapter 12:23. Since the time to refine the wild Saint Qi is over, let's leave this place. Niu Xing glanced at Mo Qingyun and the others. After giving them some instructions, he got up and flew out of the mountain stream. Seeing that Niu Xing and Xiang Xie had flown far away, the others followed closely behind and flew out of the mountain stream as well. After flying out of the mountain stream, the others were curious as they wanted to know where Niu Xing and Xiang Xie were taking them. However, due to Niu Xing and Xiang Xie's status, they did not dare to ask directly. Then, the others followed behind Niu Xing and Xiang Xie silently out of curiosity. After a few hours, under Niu Xing and Xiang Xie's guidance, the group arrived at a floating mountain. This is the eastern palace of the Eternal South Celestial Palace, where the new disciples of the Eternal South Celestial Palace live. Arriving in front of the floating mountains, Niu Wei introduced them to everyone. He then revealed a solemn expression and said, "In the East Deity Palace, there are a total of 300 cultivation residences. They are 100 core disciple residences, 100 elite disciple residences, and 100 ordinary disciple residences. If you want to get a good mansion, you'll have to do your best to pass the test of the ethereal immortal mansion. After introducing the Eastern Immortal Palace to Mo Qinyun and the others, Niu Xing and Jian Wushuang led the group forward until they arrived at a huge palace. Niu Xing said, "This huge palace is the misty immortal abode. It will test all of you in a while, and then you'll be allocated residences according to your result." After introducing the ethereal immortal mansion to the others, Niu Xing led Mo Qinyun and the others into the ethereal immortal mansion. As they approached the ethereal immortal mansion, the others felt a strong sense of majesty from the ethereal immortal mansion, causing their hearts to palpitate. Soon, they arrived in front of the ethereal immortal mansion and waited for Niu Xing's instructions. The ethereal immortal mansion is divided into 10 levels and 100 tests. Each level has 10 tests. You must be careful. Standing in front of the ethereal immortal mansion, Niu Xing explained the ethereal immortal mansion again with a solemn expression. He said in a deep voice, "Since there are only 300 cultivation mansions in the Eastern Palace, and there are nearly 700 disciples here, more than half of you will not be able to get a cultivation mansion. If you don't want to be without a cultivation mansion, work hard to pass the test of the ethereal immortal mansion." Hearing Niu Xing's words, everyone's expression immediately, they realized the seriousness of the matter. The difference could be seen from the way he absorbed the desolation holy qi through the lotus leaves and lotuses in the holy spring. Now that Niu Xing had given such a precious instruction, it was likely that the lack of a cultivation cave to live in would have a great impact on one's cultivation. Thinking of this, the expressions of those ranked outside the top 100 became even more tense. They were worried that they wouldn't be able to obtain a cultivation residence. "Jizhua, you will enter the misty immortal mansion from the entrance of the core disciples." After explaining the rules, Niu Xing told GMO to enter the ethereal immortal mansion to take the test. Hearing Niu Xing's words, GMO nodded indifferently and walked into the ethereal immortal mansion. "Yu Zhuang, enter the ethereal immortal mansion from the elite disciple entrance. Tan Shan, enter the ethereal immortal mansion from the ordinary disciple entrance." After GMO entered the ethereal immortal mansion, Niu Xing told the other 2 disciples to enter the ethereal immortal mansion to take the test. After GMO and the other 2 entered the ethereal immortal mansion, the ethereal immortal mansion disciples' expressions immediately became tense and solemn. They all wanted to know what kind of test results GMO and the other 2 could get with their strength. Then, the ethereal immortal mansion disciples waited nervously for the results of the test. About 15 minutes later, GMO and the other 2 walked out of the ethereal immortal mansion, looking exhausted. When Jizhua and the other 2 came out of the misty immortal mansion, their test results appeared in the hands of Niu Xing and the other 2. GMO Core Disciple Test, 3rd Level, 9th Test, time taken 2.5 incense stick. Yu Zhuang Elite Disciple Test, 2nd Level, 5th Test, time taken 3 incense sticks. Tan Shan Ordinary Disciple Test, 2nd Level, 6th Test, time taken 3 incense stick. When GMO and the other 2 walked out of the ethereal immortal bow, Niu Xing took out a golden scroll and announced their test result. Hearing Niu Xing's announcement, the ethereal immortal mansion disciples' expressions became even more solemn. They were surprised by the result. They really didn't expect that GMO and the other 2 would have such poor results in the ethereal immortal mansion disciples' test. According to Niu Xing's explanation, the ethereal immortal mansion's test was divided into 10 levels and 100 tests. In other words, even with GMO and the other 2's cultivation base, they didn't pass half of the test. While the ethereal immortal mansion disciples were shocked by the results, Niu Xing began to instruct the others to enter the ethereal immortal mansion to take the test. Then, the rest of the people entered the ethereal immortal mansion to take the test under Niu Xing's command. As the ethereal immortal mansion disciples took the test, their results on the monster killing ranking list also changed slightly. Some people who were originally in the top 20 directly fell to the top 30. Of course, there were also some people who were originally in the top 40 who suddenly rose to the top 30. From this, it could be seen that the cultivation in the Holy Spring a few days ago had caused a significant change in everyone's strength. Mo Qingyun didn't pay attention to the changes in the rankings of the others. He only paid attention to Yuan Xie and 100 Change Golden Peak. Under Mo Qingyun's attention, he found that Yuan Xie, who was originally in the 5th place, had been overtaken by Xing He, who was in the 6th place, and dropped to the 6th place. Although his ranking was overtaken by 1 place, Yuan Xie's ranking didn't change much. It seemed that his strength had improved a lot. However, what surprised Mo Qingyun was that 100 Change Golden Peak, who was originally in the 41st place, had risen to the 29th place. The 100 Transformations Golden Peak's ranking had risen by 12 places in a short period of time. Seeing his ranking rise, 100 Change Golden Peak smiled proudly and boasted to Mo Qingyun, "Mo Qingyun, the gap between us has widened. This is just the beginning. In the days to come, I will crush your confidence step by step. I hope it's not your confidence that will be crushed bit by me." Mo Qingyun didn't react to 100 Change Golden Peak's smugness, and retorted disapprovingly. 100 Change Golden Peak's face darkened when he heard Mo Qingyun's words, and he didn't say anything more to Mo Qingyun. Seeing that 100 Change Golden Peak had stopped talking, Mo Qingyun was happy to have some peace and quiet, and didn't take the initiative to talk to him. After another 2 hours, it was finally Mo Qingyun's turn. Chapter 12:24. Not only does the ethereal immortal mansion test one's talent, but it also tests one's strength. Mo Qingyun, don't even think about passing the 2nd level. Seeing Mo Qingyun walk into the ethereal immortal abode, the ever-changing Golden Peak's expression turned gloomy and worried. Although he knew that Mo Qingyun's cultivation was only at the 3rd level of the heaven tier, he could not help but feel worried. He was afraid that Mo Qingyun's results would surpass his own. This kid killed a heavenly immortal stage fire Kirin toad with his 3rd level of the sky human stage cultivation. Luck must have played a big part in it. Seeing that it was Mo Qingyun's turn to enter the test, Yuan Xie's expression was cold as he said some sour words. "If my guess is correct, this kid's final result should be the 1st level. There might be hope for him to enter the 2nd level, but it will be difficult for him to pass the 3 stages on the 2nd level." The silver-masked Yun Xing, who was beside Yuan Xie, voiced his thoughts. Yuan Xie nodded indifferently when he heard the silver-masked Yun Xing's words. He agreed with the silver-masked Yun Xing's analysis. Compared to the others, the 100 Transformation Devil Child was undoubtedly the most nervous and worried. He realized that ever since he came into contact with Mo Qingyun, the gap between him and Mo Qingyun had been widening. He was worried that the gap between him and Mo Qingyun would widen again after the assessment of the ethereal immortal mansion. Just like that, Mo Qingyun walked into the ethereal immortal mansion under everyone's watchful eyes. "Little guy, welcome to the ethereal immortal mansion." A child who looked about 5 or 6 years old appeared before Mo Qingyun when he walked into the ethereal immortal mansion. Mo Qingyun was stunned when he heard the child's words. He was surprised by the way the child addressed him. Thought body? However, Mo Qingyun was relieved when he saw through the child's origin. From the looks of it, the child in front of him should be the childhood consciousness of some powerhouse. "Little guy, if you want to enter the next stage, then use your full strength to defeat me." While Mo Qingyun was thinking, the 5 or 6-year-old child in front of him clenched his fists and assumed a fighting stance. Then, an aura comparable to the 1st level of the celestial realm emanated from the child. "Alright." Seeing the child's actions, Mo Qingyun didn't say much to him and nodded to accept the child's suggestion. Heavenly Flame's sky-breaking halberd. Since it concerned the quality of the cultivation mansion, Mo Qingyun naturally would not be careless. He directly waved the immortal burning war halberd and swept it towards the child. Then, a fire dragon halberd shadow that was hundreds of meters long burst out from the immortal burning halberd. This is an immortal artifact. Seeing the immortal burning halberd in Mo Qingyun's hand, the child's eyes flashed with a glimmer as he exclaimed in surprise. At this moment, the thought body of the child exuded an aura that made one's heart palpitate. Feeling the terrifying aura that flashed across the child's body, Mo Qingyun's heart couldn't help but tighten. He had a feeling that he was being scanned by a terrifying existence. After this discovery, Mo Qingyun frowned and a sense of vigilance rose in his heart. He thought to himself, this thought body is a little strange. There are some essential differences between it and those killing thought bodies in the path of slaughter. Could it be, at this moment, a bold idea arose in Mo Qingyun's heart. In Mo Qingyun's opinion, there was only one possibility from the abnormal behavior of this thought body. That was, the original body of this thought body was still alive. The abnormality of this thought body just now should be the original body of this thought body observing Mo Qingyun through this thought body. I can't tell. Little guy, you're so young, but you're very alert. Seeing that his small actions were discovered by Mo Qingyun, this thought body didn't hide anymore and praised Mo Qingyun with a faint smile. Sure enough. Hearing this, Mo Qingyun was slightly surprised. The guess in his heart was confirmed. Then, Mo Qingyun's next move became a lot more restrained to avoid being seen through by the other party. But even so, with Mo Qingyun's current strength, it was still very easy to defeat this thought body. Bang! After a few moves, Mo Qingyun swept the halberd and the thought body was overbearingly defeated by Mo Qingyun. After Mo Qingyun defeated the thought body, he went to the next level. The thought body on this level was still the child from before, but it seemed to be a little older. Little guy, we meet again. In the second level, when the thought body saw Mo Qingyun, it showed a warm smile and greeted Mo Qingyun. Let's fight. In response to this thought body's words, Mo Qingyun didn't want to talk nonsense with it. He directly held the immortal burning halberd and attacked it. Seeing Mo Qingyun attacking it, this thought body didn't dare to hesitate and immediately blocked Mo Qingyun's halberd. When this consciousness body made its move, Mo Qingyun could clearly sense that its cultivation level was slightly higher than the first one's. However, it was still at the first level of the celestial realm and had not entered the second level of the celestial realm. Under Mo Qingyun's full attack, this thought body was quickly defeated by the immortal burning halberd and followed in the footsteps of the first thought body. Following that, Mo Qingyun unceasingly fought with the intent bodies one after another, passing through one trial after another. As Mo Qingyun continued to fight with the thought bodies, he became more and more familiar with the understanding and stimulation of battle intent. To put it inappropriately, this thought body in the ethereal immortal abode was simply the best sparring partner for Mo Qingyun. Just like that, Mo Qingyun directly passed through the first level's 10 levels in a domineering manner. However, after reaching the second level, Mo Qingyun's speed slowed down a lot and finally stopped at the second level's 10th level. Following Mo Qingyun's failure, his results also came out. He rose from the 46th place to the 30th place. Now, the difference between Mo Qingyun and the 100-change Golden Peak was only one place. If it wasn't for the fact that the 100-change Golden Peak's cultivation was far above Mo Qingyun's, Mo Qingyun would have long left him in the dust. 30th place, how is this possible? After learning about Mo Qingyun's assessment ranking, the 100-change Golden Peak opened his eyes wide, not daring to believe that it was true. At this moment, he suddenly felt his face burning as if someone had given him a hard slap. Just now, he was still saying that the gap between him and Mo Qingyun would get bigger and bigger. But in the blink of an eye, not only did the gap between him and Mo Qingyun not get bigger, it became 4 places weaker instead. This situation was seriously beyond his expectations. Now, the only thing that made the 100-change Golden Peak rejoice was that Emo Qingyun's ranking had not surpassed him yet. Otherwise, he would have really embarrassed himself this time. At present, when the 100-change Golden Peak was rejoicing in his heart, Emo Qingyun walked over with a faint smile and said with a smile, "Hey! Our ranking gap seems to have gotten smaller." Chapter 12:25. Chapter content begins. The gap between us seems to have narrowed. Hearing Emo Qingyun's voice, Golden Face Mountain's expression trembled as he felt an inexplicable pressure. Originally, he thought that he would be able to widen the gap between him and Emo Qingyun by increasing his ranking by 12 places. He never thought that Emo Qingyun's ranking would rise even more than his, surpassing 16 places. Humph! Golden Face Mountain stared at Emo Qingyun, his expression trembling a few times before he turned his head away with a cold snort. Seeing Golden Face Mountain's reaction, Emo Qingyun showed a look of disdain and said with a faint smile, "What's wrong? Are you afraid?" Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Golden Face Mountain's body trembled unconsciously, as though his words had hit a sore spot. Emo Qingyun's words were true. He was indeed a little panicked now, afraid that Emo Qingyun's strength would surpass his. Seeing Golden Face Mountain's reaction, Emo Qingyun did not say anything more and walked toward the two girls with a faint smile. When everyone saw Emo Qingyun's results, they couldn't help but look at him in awe. If Emo Qingyun's ranking in the monster-killing leaderboard was exaggerated, the Misty Immortal Abode's assessment results were not fake at all. Thus, it could be seen that Emo Qingyun's strength was not to be underestimated. They had underestimated Emo Qingyun before. 30th place? Seeing Emo Qingyun's assessment results, Yuan Xie and Yun Xing were shocked, their eyes filled with surprise. This time, although Yun Xing's assessment results had improved a lot, he was currently at 26th place. Judging from the current ranking, it would not be easy for Yun Xing to deal with Emo Qingyun. After a brief moment of surprise, Yun Xing's face turned gloomy as he said in a cold voice, "Big brother Yuan Xie, Emo Qingyun's strength has increased too quickly. If we let him continue to grow, I'm afraid he'll be a big problem. In my opinion, it's better to get rid of him as soon as possible. This kid has indeed grown very quickly. I underestimated him." After witnessing Emo Qingyun's rapid growth, Yuan Xie began to take Emo Qingyun seriously. He nodded in agreement with Yun Xing's suggestion and said, "In a month, us new disciples will go out to train. At that time, I will arrange for you to be with Emo Qingyun. At that time, you can find a chance to kill Emo Qingyun." "Yes." Yun Xing nodded. A murderous look flashed in his eyes as he stared at Emo Qingyun. It was as if he was a viper staring at its prey. At this moment, apart from Yun Xing, there was also the Devil Son of Myriad Transformations, who was not far away, staring at Emo Qingyun with dark eyes. "It's already the 30th. Seeing that Emo Qingyun's ranking had risen, the Devil Child of 100 Transformations clenched his fists tightly, emitting cracking sounds. Who would have thought that after spending 2 months in the Holy Spring, Emo Qingyun's strength had increased so much, and the gap between them had widened once again. At this moment, in addition to resentment, the Devil Son of 100 Transformations was more remorseful. He knew that he had completely missed the chance to deal with Emo Qingyun. Now, he was no longer a match for Emo Qingyun. Under the gaze of the Devil Son of 100 Transformations, Emo Qingyun came in front of the Ghost Moon Holy Maiden and the Devil Son of 100 Transformations. Looking at Emo Qingyun in front of them, the Ghost Moon Holy Maiden and the Devil Son of 100 Transformations were shocked. They found it hard to believe that Emo Qingyun had achieved such a result. Although Emo Qingyun's ranking was only in the top 30, Emo Qingyun's cultivation was only at the 3rd level of the sky-human realm. There was a huge gap between him and the others. If Emo Qingyun had the cultivation of the heaven immortal realm, it would not be too difficult for him to get the first place. While Mo Qingyun was chatting with the two women, the others' assessment had begun. They all walked into the ethereal immortal abode. After a few hours, the Devil's Son of 100 Transformations assessment results came out. His ranking had dropped to the 71st place. Looking at his assessment ranking, the Devil's Son of 100 Transformations' face became even gloomier. The regret in his heart became even stronger. He hated it. He hated himself for being careless. In a moment of carelessness, he actually allowed an unknown kid to ride on his head and abuse his power. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. It was too late for him to regret now. The only thing he could do now was to think of all ways to get rid of Mo Qingyun. Because he knew that if he did not get rid of Mo Qingyun would become his inner demon. Therefore, Mo Qingyun must die. 1 month later, I will accept the mission to go out and gain experience. At that time, I will definitely kill Mo Qingyun. Thinking of the mission in 1 month, the Devil's Son of 100 Transformations' face turned black. He clenched his fists tightly and swore to kill Mo Qingyun as soon as possible. Mo Qingyun did not know what the Devil's Son of 100 Transformations and the others were thinking. What he was thinking now was how to increase his strength faster so that he could gain a foothold in the Eternal South Immortal Palace. At that time, it would be much more convenient for him to inquire about Long Hanyan and Murong Qinyu. 4 days later, under the waiting of Mo Qingyun and the others, it was finally the Ghost Moon Saintess and Chu Yunyun's turn to take the assessment. The two women's assessment results were similar to what Mo Qingyun had expected. Their rankings had increased a lot. Unfortunately, because their original rankings were too low, even though their rankings had increased a lot, they still did not enter the top 100. In the end, the Ghost Moon Saintess was ranked 146th and Chu Yunyun was ranked 149th. Seeing their assessment results, the Ghost Moon Saintess and Chu Yunyun revealed a lonely expression. They looked a little disappointed. Ghost Moon Yunyun, you don't have to care too much about the assessment results. Looking at the two disappointed women, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly at them and said, the top 100 disciples can also invite others to stay in their cultivation residences. At that time, the two of you can stay in my cultivation residence. Really? Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the two women's beautiful eyes lit up and their expressions revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. Mo Qingyun was ranked 30th. The conditions of his cultivation residence must be very good. For them, if they could enter Mo Qingyun's cultivation residence, it would be the best. Of course. Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and gave the two women a definite answer. Seeing Mo Qingyun's promise, the two women immediately beamed with joy and the disappointment in their hearts was swept away. Next, Mo Qingyun and the other two chatted while waiting for the others to take the assessment. Just like this, after another 3 days, everyone's assessment was finally over. Since the assessment is over, the top 100 core disciples, elite disciples, and ordinary disciples follow me. Seeing that all the disciples had finished their assessment, Niu Xing instructed everyone and walked towards the floating residence. When they saw Niu Xing's actions, Mo Qingyun and the others hurriedly followed him and walked towards the floating residences. Seeing that Mo Qingyun and the others had walked far away, Xiang Xie said to the remaining people in a low voice, "The rest of you follow me." Chapter 12:26. Not long after, under Niu Xing's lead, Mo Qingyun and the others arrived in front of the mansion. Arriving at the front of the mansion, Niu Xing pointed at the mansion and said, "The closest 100 mansions are for the top 100 ordinary disciples. The middle 100 mansions are for the top 100 elite disciples. As for the last 100 mansions, they are for the top 100 core disciples." Niu Xing introduced the 300th house to them. His expression suddenly turned serious as he said, "Before you move in, I have something to tell you in advance. The test of the misty immortal abode is held once a month. In other words, the location of your residences will change every month. The location of the mansion changes every month? Hearing Niu Xing's words, everyone revealed a surprised expression and started whispering to each other. Seeing that everyone had started to whisper to each other, Niu Xing waved his hand at everyone, indicating for them to quiet down first. He continued, "Of course, this kind of exchange doesn't mean that you have to move out of the mansion. Instead, you have to exchange the location of your mansion, just like this." After Niu Xing finished speaking, he formed a hand seal and hit the floating mansion in front of him. Following that, everyone saw that the positions of number 33 and number 34 were reversed in the ordinary disciples' residences. As the positions of mansion number 33 and mansion number 34 were swapped, the numbers on the two mansions were also swapped. Seeing this scene, everyone understood the meaning of the mansions being switched. It turned out that these mansions could be moved. Seeing that everyone understood what he meant, Niu Xing gave them some instructions before letting them enter their respective residences. As he flew closer and closer to his mansion, Mo Qingyun discovered that the abundance of spirit qi around the different ranked mansions was also different. This difference was similar to the difference in the concentration of the holy qi in the holy spring between the lotus leaves and the lotus flowers. It didn't take long for Mo Qingyun to arrive at mansion number 30, and he glanced around the mansion. After looking around, Mo Qingyun discovered that the interior of the mansion was very spacious. There were more than 10 rooms of various sizes. Behind these rooms was a backyard with pavilions, small bridges, and flowing water. The scenery was very pleasant, and everywhere was shrouded in a cloud of immortal energy. Mo Qingyun revealed a satisfied smile as he looked around the courtyard. As expected of an immortal's residence, this environment is incomparable to the Tianhun continent and the ancient path. If I were to live in such a big mansion alone, it would be a little lonely. Fortunately, I let Gui Yu and Yun Yun stay together. Thinking that Gui Yu and Chu Yunyun would also move in, Mo Qingyun revealed a faint smile. He was very satisfied with his previous arrangements. As for letting Xie and the others live in the mansion, Mo Qingyun hadn't considered it yet. Firstly, he had just entered the Eternal South Immortal Palace and was not familiar with the rules here, so he did not know if he could bring outsiders into the palace. Secondly, his cultivation was still weak, so he could not guarantee the safety of Xie and the others. It was best not to let them show their faces in public. One had to know that Mo Qingyun had many enemies now. If they knew of the existence of Xie and the others, it would not be good if they made a move on Xie and the others. As for Gui Yu and Chu Yunyun, their situation was different. They had family backgrounds in the wild continent, so they did not have to worry about other people having bad intentions. Moreover, the two of them were also disciples of the Eternal South Immortal Palace. If others wanted to do something to them, they would have to think twice. After looking around, Mo Qingyun was not in a hurry to go into seclusion to cultivate. Instead, he prepared to set up a protective formation around the mansion. No matter what, he still had to stay in this mansion for a while, so it was necessary to set up a protective formation around it. Otherwise, if any Tom, Dick, and Harry came to his residence and disturbed his cultivation, it wouldn't be good. Standing in front of the mansion, Mo Qingyun raised his hand and waved at the void, leaving 3 words on the mansion's plaque. Qingyun Mansion. Looking at the name of his mansion, Mo Qingyun smiled with satisfaction and began to set up a protective formation around the mansion. Qingyun Mansion was just a private mansion. Its size could not be compared to the sacred mountain of Qingyun and the weapon seal sect. Therefore, it was a piece of cake for Mo Qingyun to set up a protective formation here. A few hours later, under Mo Qingyun's full effort, the protective formation of Qingyun Mansion was completed. Although this burning sky formation can't stop a true immortal realm expert, it's enough to stop a heavenly immortal realm expert. Mo Qingyun smiled in satisfaction when he saw the array formation he had set up. With this burning sky array, it would be impossible for others to bother him. At this point, Mo Qingyun could be considered to have gained a firm foothold in the Eternal South Immortal Palace. They're here. At this moment, Ghost Moon and Chu Yunyun had just finished setting up the protective formation when they arrived. When Mo Qingyun saw the two ladies, he walked out of the mansion with a faint smile on his face as he welcomed them into the Azure Cloud Mansion. Qingyun Mansion. Looking at the plaque in front of Qingyun Mansion, Ghost Moon and Chu Yunyun smiled and praised Mo Qingyun. Qingyun, you're very efficient. You've finished setting up the mansion so quickly. This is the Burning Sky Formation? While the two of them were looking at Qingyun Mansion, Chu Yunyun was surprised and stared at the protective formation with her eyes wide open. Hearing Chu Yunyun's words, Ghost Moon Holy Lady was also surprised and stared at the formation with her eyes wide open. Qingyun, could it be that you were the one who set up this burning sky array? Although she knew that this burning sky formation was probably set up by Mo Qingyun, Ghost Moon still could not help but ask. That's right. Before the two of you came, I had just finished setting it up. In response to Ghost Moon Holy Lady's question, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and gestured to the two of them to enter. Although the two of them had already guessed that the burning sky array had to have been set up by Mo Qingyun, they didn't know what to do. However, when they heard Mo Qingyun admitted himself, they could not help but be shocked. They were amazed by Mo Qingyun's attainment in formations. This burning sky formation was a level 2 celestial formation. Experts below the true immortal realm would not be able to break it with brute force. Such a powerful array formation, Mo Qingyun, a person with cultivation at the 3rd level of the celestial realm, was actually able to set it up in just a few hours. This was too shocking. Then, the two women walked into the mansion with shock in their hearts under Mo Qingyun's lead. After bringing the two of them into the mansion, Mo Qingyun told them how to control the protective formation and some other details. After doing all this, Mo Qingyun did not say anything more to the two of them and walked into a room. Chapter 12:27. After entering the 5-directional pagoda, Mo Qingyun took out the remaining wild holy qi and gave a portion to Mo Zai and Mo to refine. Then, Mo Qingyun divided a small portion of the wild holy qi and gave it to Xia, Hei Xian, Iron Wing, and Savage Beast to refine and absorb. After distributing the wild holy qi, Mo Qingyun did not waste any more time and began to cultivate to improve his current realm. In Mo Qingyun's opinion, his current realm was still too low and could not unleash the power of the martial arts that he cultivated. It was normal for Mo Qingyun to have such thoughts. After all, the foundation of strength was the realm. If a person only had the cultivation of the sovereign realm, then no matter how powerful his martial arts and magic were, he would not be able to defeat a true immortal powerhouse. It could not be helped. In the face of a huge gap between realms, it was not something that could be bridged with martial arts and magic. In the past few days of cultivation, Mo Qingyun's realm had reached the peak of the 3rd level of the celestial realm. If it was not for the lack of time, Mo Qingyun would have broken through to the 4th level of the celestial realm long ago. The 4th tribulation of the celestial realm was the soul tribulation. Once the soul tribulation was broken through, the strength of one's soul would soar. Even a martial artist who was not good at soul cultivation would have his soul become stronger after going through the soul tribulation. Of course, there was still a big gap between him and a martial artist who was good at soul cultivation. After deciding to break through his cultivation, Mo Qingyun sat down cross-legged and began to break through to the 4th level of the celestial realm. Soon, Mo Qingyun felt a terrifying strange power suddenly surge into his sea of consciousness. Under the impact of this strange power, his sea of consciousness began to collapse bit by bit, turning into pure soul power. Close. When his sea of consciousness collapsed, Mo Qingyun's primordial spirit formed a hand seal, trying to reform his collapsed sea of consciousness. However, when the primordial spirit formed a hand seal to reform the sea of consciousness, its body began to crumble bit by bit. After discovering this, Mo Qingyun couldn't help but be shocked. He didn't expect the soul tribulation to be so terrifying. Along with the passage of time and the impact of that strange force, Mo Qingyun's soul core was completely dispersed in the end. Puff! His soul and sea of consciousness collapsed. Mo Qingyun spat out a mouthful of blood, his face turning pale. To a martial artist, although the soul and sea of consciousness were not the most important, they were still connected to their mind. Now, in Mo Qingyun's current situation, it could be said that his soul cultivation had been crippled. However, what puzzled Mo Qingyun was that although his sea of consciousness and primordial spirit had collapsed, his soul realm had not declined. From the looks of it, this abnormal scene should be related to the soul tribulation. While Mo Qingyun was shocked, a strange bloodline power was activated in his body. When this strange bloodline power appeared, it began to reform his sea of consciousness and primordial spirit, resisting the impact and destruction of the soul tribulation. Immemorial creation bloodline. Sensing the awakened bloodline power in his body, Mo Qingyun was immediately overjoyed and a brilliant smile appeared on his face. In this sudden situation, he had actually forgotten about the immemorial creation bloodline. With the recovery ability of the immemorial creation bloodline, as long as one of them was still alive, Mo Zai or Mo, no matter how serious his injuries were, he could recover bit by bit. Under the effect of the immemorial creation bloodline, the collapsed sea of consciousness and primordial spirit began to reform bit by bit. Not only that, but after the sea of consciousness and primordial spirit reformed, their aura had clearly increased by a lot. In other words, Mo Qingyun had profited from this disaster. This should be considered as rebuilding after destruction. Several hours later, looking at the reformed sea of consciousness and primordial spirit, Mo Qingyun revealed a brilliant smile. He could clearly feel that his sea of consciousness and primordial spirit were now at least one realm stronger than before. After the sea of consciousness and primordial spirit were reformed, the soul tribulation power that destroyed the sea of consciousness and primordial spirit also withdrew from his body. This also indicated that Mo Qingyun had successfully passed the soul tribulation. As this strange power was withdrawn, the aura emitted from Mo Qingyun's body suddenly rose. Mo Qingyun's cultivation had a breakthrough and successfully advanced to the 4th level of the celestial being realm. After his cultivation broke through to the 4th level of the celestial being realm, Mo Qingyun began to restrain his mind and stabilize his current realm. In the following time, Mo Qingyun's cultivation slowly passed by. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed in the 5-directional small pagoda. After 3 months of continuous cultivation, Mo Qingyun's cultivation finally completely stabilized. After stabilizing his cultivation, Mo Qingyun did not stop cultivating. He began to cultivate the various martial arts that he had mastered. The first martial art that Mo Qingyun cultivated was the Demon Fist shattering the galaxy. Ever since he cultivated the 4th move of the Demon Fist shattering the galaxy, he had not made much progress. Now that his cultivation had improved, he should be able to cultivate the 5th move of the Demon Fist shattering the galaxy. The Great Heavenly Demon Finger was the most domineering finger in the Demon Fist shattering the galaxy. It was also the most powerful finger. In addition to including the characteristics of the first 4 moves, this finger also added a lot of spirituality. When the finger blasted out, it was as if an ancient demon god had come in person, exuding a supreme demonic aura, causing the enemy to feel fear from the bottom of their heart. However, due to the power of the Great Heavenly Demon Finger, the difficulty of cultivating it was naturally higher. However, Mo Qingyun did not have the slightest intention of giving up just because the great heavenly demon finger was difficult to cultivate. When he first started cultivating, he kept failing and could not even copy the embryonic form of the great heavenly demon finger. However, under Mo Qingyun's continuous efforts, his mastery of the great heavenly demon finger finally became more and more skillful. At this moment, on the second floor of the 5-directional small pagoda, great heavenly demon finger, Mo Qingyun pointed at the void. Then, a wave of demonic aura mixed with destructive power blasted out from Mo Qingyun's thumb, turning into a finger with an astonishing aura. When this finger was formed, it blasted towards the ground from above with the momentum of Mount Tai. Bang! Under the bombardment of the great heavenly demon finger, the second floor of the 5-directional small pagoda immediately shook, creating a terrifying shockwave. Clang! At this moment, a spiritual longsword on the ground of the 5-directional small pagoda could not bear the heavy bombardment of the great heavenly demon finger and shattered. Looking at the spiritual longsword collapsing, Mo Qingyun immediately revealed a surprised expression. He had a better understanding of the power of the great heavenly demon finger. He said, "With the power of the great heavenly demon finger, I'm afraid that even an expert at the level of Immortal Du may not be able to withstand it." Chapter 12:28. Mo Qingyun began to cultivate the 5-direction heaven-breaking technique after he finished cultivating the 5th form of the magic fist shattering galaxy. He attempted to cultivate the 4th form, the divine earth war shield. Mo Qingyun sensed that the cultivation method of the 5-direction heaven-breaking technique that was sealed in his mind was slowly appearing in his consciousness. After obtaining the cultivation method of the 4th form of the 5-direction heaven-breaking technique, Mo Qingyun did not waste any more time and immediately began to cultivate it. Divine Earth War Shield. After reading the 4th form of the 5-direction heaven-breaking technique in his mind, Mo Qingyun had a rough understanding of the 4th form of the Divine Earth War Shield. The Divine Earth War Shield was a defensive technique that condensed the Earth attribute energy into a huge shield. After reading the cultivation method of the 4th form of the 5-direction heaven-breaking technique, Mo Qingyun did not waste any more time and began to cultivate the Divine Earth War Shield. Under Mo Qingyun's cultivation, a pure energy of the law of Earth quickly gathered beside him and condensed into a shield that was about 2 meters long and 1 meter wide. After the shield was formed, it hovered around Mo Qingyun and allowed him to control it with his mind. This Divine Earth War Shield can be controlled with one's mind. It's much more convenient to defend against. After discovering this feature of the Divine Earth War Shield, Mo Qingyun was delighted. He was even more satisfied with the Divine Earth War Shield. Looking at the Divine Earth War Shield that was condensed before him, Mo Qingyun held the Immortal Incineration Battle Halberd in his hand and directly pierced it. Bang! After receiving the Immortal Incineration Battle Halberd's overbearing impact, a low muffled sound came from the Divine Earth War Shield. Following that, cracks appeared on the Divine Earth War Shield. However, it did not shatter immediately. The power of my halberd just now was so powerful that even a 5th-level Sky Human Realm expert would not be able to take it head-on. Recalling the might of his halberd strike just now, Mo Qingyun's face revealed a contemplative expression. He had a general understanding of the Earth War Deity Shield's defensive capabilities, and said, "This Earth War Deity Shield has only just taken shape, yet it can withstand an attack comparable to a 5th-level Heaven-tier powerhouse. If it's cultivated to the realm of minor accomplishment, it should be enough to withstand an attack from an Immortal Du stage powerhouse." Thinking of this, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and immediately continued to cultivate the Divine Earth War Shield. Under Mo Qingyun's tireless cultivation, the Divine Earth War Shield that was condensed by him, the shield's power and the Divine Earth War Shield's power was rapidly increasing. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. After a year of continuous cultivation, Mo Qingyun had finally cultivated the earthen war deity shield to the small success stage. Now that Mo Qingyun used the earth war deity shield, even an ordinary immortal dew stage expert would be able to easily defeat it. Seeing that the divine earth war shield's minor realm had reached the minor realm, Mo Qingyun stopped cultivating it and began to cultivate other martial arts. In this way, after a few months, Mo Qingyun stopped cultivating. During this time, the other martial arts under Mo Qingyun's cultivation, although they did not directly advance, they had a great improvement. A year and a half has passed in the 5 directions small pagoda, which is almost equivalent to a month in the outside world. It's time to leave the 5 directions small pagoda. Mo Qingyun silently calculated the time in his heart. He moved his body and left the 5 directions small pagoda. After leaving the 5 directions small pagoda, he opened the door and walked out. When Mo Qingyun walked out of the room, Gui Yu and Chu Yunyun just happened to walk over. The 2 women looked disappointed. What's wrong? Seeing the 2 women's expressions, Mo Qingyun showed a look of curiosity and asked the 2 women. Hearing Mo Qingyun's question, the 2 women's bodies froze. They looked at Mo Qingyun blankly. After a short moment of absent-mindedness, Gui Yu Saintus sighed and said, "Just now, we went to the ethereal immortal mansion again. Unfortunately, our results were in the 140th place. There was not much improvement." Hearing Gui Yu Saintus's words, Mo Qingyun immediately understood their feelings. He smiled faintly and said to the 2 women, "It's only been a month. It's normal that your ranking did not rise much. As long as you persevere, you will definitely be in the top 100. Okay." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words of comfort, the 2 women's expressions relaxed a lot. The disappointment in their hearts also lessened a little. After talking with Mo Qingyun for a while, Chu Yunyun's expression suddenly changed. She looked at Mo Qingyun expectantly and said, "Qingyun, now everyone is taking the Ethereal Immortal Mansions test to see how much they have improved in the past month. Do you want to take the test too?" "Oh right, now Qingyun Mansion's ranking has dropped to 33rd place." Hearing Chu Yunyun's words, Gui Yu Saintus also showed an expectant expression. She opened her mouth and suggested to Mo Qingyun, "Qingyun, maybe you don't care about the ranking. But the higher the ranking, the more abundant the spirit qi around the mansion, and the easier it is to cultivate. I also think that you should catch up with the ranking." "It's already dropped to 33rd place?" Hearing the 2 women's words, Mo Qingyun's expression changed a little. He was a little surprised by the change in the ranking of Qingyun Mansion. He thought to himself, "The competition in the Eternal South Immortal Mansion is really fierce." Although this kind of competition was not a competition, this kind of change in the ranking of the mansion put a lot of pressure on the disciples. This was because if you were not careful, your current ranking could be surpassed by others. In that case, if you want to maintain your ranking and not be surpassed, you can only continue to work hard and cultivate. In this case, let's go to the Ethereal Immortal Mansion. After considering the 2 women's suggestion, Mo Qingyun did not want to waste any more time. He directly walked out of Qingyun Mansion. After walking out of Qingyun Mansion, Mo Qingyun and Gui Yu Saintus went to the Ethereal Immortal Mansion with ease. At this moment, there were many people standing outside the Ethereal Immortal Mansion. They were all here to take the test. At this moment, a familiar figure walked out of the Ethereal Immortal Mansion. The figure walked out of the Ethereal Immortal Mansion with an arrogant expression. He looked at Mo Qingyun, who was not far away, and sneered, "Mo Qingyun, the gap between us has widened again." That's right. The person who was talking to Mo Qingyun was the clan brother of the 100 Transformation Devil Child, 100 Transformation Golden Peak. Is that so? That's not what I think. Hearing 100 Transformation Golden Peak's words, Mo Qingyun smiled indifferently and replied, "Also, you seem to have forgotten a very important point. I haven't taken the test of the ethereal immortal mansion. Mo Qingyun ignored 100 transformation Golden Peak and walked straight into the ethereal immortal mansion. Humph. I'd like to see how much your ranking will rise. 100 transformation Golden Peak's face darkened when he saw Mo Qingyun's actions. He gritted his teeth and muttered to himself. Chapter 12:29. As Mo Qingyun entered the misty immortal abode, the 5 or 6-year-old child from last time appeared in front of him again. Little guy, you're here again. Seeing Mo Qingyun in front of him, the child faintly smiled at Mo Qingyun and simply greeted him. In response to the former's greeting, Mo Qingyun indifferently nodded and said in a deep voice, "Please enlighten me." After a simple greeting, Mo Qingyun didn't waste any more words with him and directly attacked him. This guardian's mental avatar wasn't even Mo Qingyun's match last time, so there was no need to even mention this time. When Mo Qingyun's fist blasted out, the consciousness embodiment guarding the pass was immediately blasted to smithereens. After blowing up the guardian's consciousness body, Mo Qingyun's footsteps didn't stop and directly rushed into the second level. The result was still the same. The guardian's consciousness body was still no match for Mo Qingyun's punch. Just like that, Mo Qingyun successfully charged into the third level of the misty immortal abode after overcoming all obstacles. In the first level of the third level, a youth who looked to be in his early 20s stood in front of Mo Qingyun with a faint smile. He was the guardian of the first level of the third level. Early Immortal Dew stage. Sensing the fluctuations of the guardian's aura, Mo Qingyun's expression became a lot more dignified and immediately withdrew his contempt. This would be his first battle with an Immortal Dew stage expert. Although the previous 9-headed dragon was also at the Immortal Dew stage, Mo Qingyun's cultivation was too low and didn't have the qualifications to fight back. Therefore, last time when Mo Qingyun faced the 9-headed dragon, it couldn't be considered a real battle with an Immortal Dew stage expert. Congratulations, you've successfully reached the third level. Sizing up Mo Qingyun in front of him, the consciousness body faintly smiled. His expression slowly became serious and indifferently said, "However, your footsteps will stop here. I won't allow you to go any further." After the young man finished speaking, his body floated up into the air. He raised his hand and took out a golden bead. This treasure is called the Golden Fantasy Worlds. It's a mid-grade celestial artifact. If you can break it open, you'll be considered to have passed the test. Taking out the golden bead, the young man introduced the origin of the bead and made a hand seal to activate the golden bead. Under the young man's control, the golden bead suddenly shone brightly and enveloped Mo Qingyun. Following this, Mo Qingyun found that the scene before him changed. He had entered a golden world, and there were buildings made of gold everywhere. Clang, 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 the sound of hurried footsteps could be heard. Behind the footsteps, Mo Qingyun saw 6 soldiers wearing golden armor and holding long spears approaching him. The strength of these soldiers was very strong. Each of them was comparable to the early stage of Immortal Dew. Their bodies emitted a killing intent. Mo Qingyun had no doubt that he would die at the hands of these golden-armored soldiers if he underestimated them in the slightest. The 6 soldiers came to Mo Qingyun's side. They waved their long spears and stabbed at Mo Qingyun from different directions. Divine Earth War Shield. Scorching Sun Shield. Facing the attack of these soldiers, Mo Qingyun didn't dare to be careless. He hurriedly used 2 major defensive techniques. The long spears in the hands of these golden-armored soldiers had reached the early stage of celestial artifact. Since Mo Qingyun's body was strong, it wouldn't be easy for him to block it. Clang, clang, clang. The long spears in the hands of the golden-armored soldiers hit the Divine Earth War Shield and the Scorching Sun Shield. Immediately, a crisp sound was heard. Following this, Mo Qingyun's body was sent flying and heavily crashed into a row of buildings. Under Mo Qingyun's domineering impact, A large portion of these golden mansions and courtyards were instantly destroyed. Under this impact, Mo Qingyun immediately felt his qi and blood surging. His face became a little red. Fortunately, his body was far stronger than ordinary people. He didn't suffer too much damage. Otherwise, under the combined attack of the golden armored soldiers, he would have been seriously injured. Although he wasn't directly injured, Mo Qingyun's current situation wasn't very optimistic. These 6 golden armored soldiers are very strong. I can't fight them head-on. I have to use my wit. After clashing with the 6 golden armored soldiers, Mo Qingyun made a clear decision. He didn't want to continue fighting with the golden armored soldiers. Following this, Mo Qingyun quickly thought of a way to break through the illusory metal realms. This magic treasure called the illusory metal realms should be a magic treasure similar to a formation. Therefore, these golden armored soldiers might not really exist. They're just products of a formation. Thinking of this, Mo Qingyun had a clearer idea of how to break through the illusory metal realms. Then, Mo Qingyun circled around the 6 golden armored soldiers as he tried to find out what was different about them. After a careful observation, Mo Qingyun discovered the differences between the 6 golden armored soldiers. His expression immediately became excited. He guessed, among the 6 golden armored soldiers, one of them has a different color long spear. Could he be the breakthrough to break through the realms? When this thought appeared in Mo Qingyun's mind, he didn't hesitate anymore. He immediately attacked the golden armored soldier with a different color long spear. Fight to the death. Great heavenly demon finger. Since he found the breakthrough, Mo Qingyun didn't hold back anymore. He directly used his strongest attack. Suddenly, a terrifying black essence force turned into a huge finger. It emitted a demonic power that could destroy the heavens. After the great heavenly demon finger was formed, it pressed down on the golden armored soldier with a Mount Tai pressure. Bang! Facing the overbearing attack of the great heavenly demon finger, the golden armored soldier was directly blasted into the ground. His body turned into a pile of residue. Swish! After the golden armored soldier was killed by Mo Qingyun's finger, the other golden armored soldiers immediately trembled and disappeared on the spot. However, before Mo Qingyun could recover from his shock, another 6 golden armored soldiers appeared. Among them, there was still one golden armored soldier with a different color long spear. After this discovery, Mo Qingyun immediately knew which golden armored soldier to kill this round. After finding the breakthrough to kill the enemy, Mo Qingyun immediately became much easier to deal with these golden armored soldiers. Next, under Mo Qingyun's continuous attacks, batches of golden armored soldiers were killed by him. When Mo Qingyun defeated the 6th wave of golden armored soldiers, the scene in front of him suddenly changed. He returned to the ethereal immortal abode. Congratulations to the challenger for successfully breaking through the illusory metal realms. Please proceed to the next stage. When Mo Qingyun returned to the ethereal immortal abode, the young man's voice sounded in his ears again. Thank you. Chapter 1230. Outside the ethereal immortal abode. When Mo Qingyun passed the first stage of the 3rd level, his ranking on the Ethereal Immortal Abodes Assessment Ranking List changed. Ethereal Immortal Abodes Assessment Ranking List. First place, Jizhua, 10th stage of the 3rd level, time used for 2 incense stick. Second place, Qianguang Sun, 9th stage of the 3rd level, time used for 3 incense stick. Third place, Yuan Xie, 8th stage of the 3rd level, time used for 1 incense stick. 29th place. Mo Qingyun, 1st stage of the 3rd level, time used for 2 incense stick. Seeing the change in Mo Qingyun's ranking, the ever-changing golden peak trembled and felt a strong pressure in his heart. Mo Qingyun actually passed the 1st stage of the 3rd level. If he passed the 2nd stage of the 3rd level, he would be on the same level as him. No. Impossible. This kid is only at the 4th level of the celestial realm. How can he fight with an immortal dew stage expert? Recalling the strength of the golden armored soldiers in the golden illusion world, the ever-changing golden peak found it hard to accept. He didn't believe that Emo Qinyun had such strength. He clearly remembered that the golden armored soldiers in the golden illusion world all had the strength of an immortal dew stage expert. In his opinion, even if Emo Qinyun found a way to break the boundary, he shouldn't be able to kill the Jin family's soldiers. The difference in strength was obvious. Compared to the 100 transformations, Golden Peak's shock, Gui Yu and Chu Yunyun's faces were filled with excitement. Qin Yun has rushed to the 29th place. It seems that he has made great progress during this period of time. Sigh. Compared to Qin Yun, I feel that I'm not worthy of my title as the #1 genius of the mortal road. Yun, don't think like that. It's not that our talent is too bad, but that Qin Yun is too monstrous. At this moment, the two girls were surprised, and at the same time, they also felt a sense of emotion. While everyone was paying attention to Emo Qinyun, he arrived at the 2nd stage of the 3rd level of the ethereal immortal abode. When he arrived at the 2nd stage of the 3rd level of the ethereal immortal abode, Emo Qinyun saw the young man from the 1st stage, who was holding a jade folding fan and looking at him. Middle stage, immortal dew stage. The moment he saw this young man, Emo Qinyun could sense that his aura was much stronger than in the first round. After this discovery, Emo Qinyun's expression became more serious. He thought to himself, it seems that this trial is even more difficult than the previous one. To be able to come here with a cultivation at the 4th level of the heaven tier, you're not bad. When Emo Qinyun sensed the young man's cultivation level, the young man also sensed his cultivation level. He praised Emo Qinyun and said, however, my test is not so easy to pass. You have to be prepared for failure. Please enlighten me. Hearing the other party's words, Emo Qinyun showed an indifferent expression and made an inviting gesture. Seeing Emo Qinyun's action, the young man did not waste his breath. He raised his hand and pointed at the jade folding fan in his hand and said, this is a medium-grade immortal artifact, the Heaven's Gate 9 Jadeite fan. If you can break the barrier of this Heaven's Gate 9 Jadeite fan, you'll pass this trial. After the young man finished speaking, he threw the jade folding fan in his hand, and it flew above Emo Qinyun at an extremely fast speed. When the jade folding fan arrived above Emo Qinyun, it bloomed with a dazzling green light and turned into 9 huge jade tablets that trapped Emo Qinyun. As Emo Qinyun was trapped by the 9 jade tablets, the scene before his eyes suddenly changed into an endless sea of bamboo. When he saw the sea of bamboo before him, Emo Qinyun's expression immediately tensed up. There was a strong sense of vigilance in his eyes. Emo Qinyun could sense that there was a strong killing intent hidden in the sea of bamboo before him. Swish, swish, swish. At this moment, when Emo Qinyun raised his vigilance, a bamboo branch that exuded a terrifying aura overbearingly whipped towards him. Facing the attack of these bamboo branches, Emo Qinyun quickly took out the immortal burning battle halberd and swept it towards these bamboo branches. Ding, ding, ding. Facing the overbearing sweep of the immortal burning battle halberd, the bamboo branches produced a series of crisp sounds, like the collision of glasses. Under the impact of the immortal burning battle halberd's sweep, the bamboo branches immediately retreated into the surrounding bamboo forest. However, they were not cut by the immortal burning battle halberd. What a tough bamboo branch! Seeing that the immortal burning battle halberd's full force attack did not cut these bamboo branches, Emo Qinyun was shocked. One must know that the immortal burning battle halberd was a low-grade immortal artifact, but it still could not cut these bamboo branches. This showed how tough these bamboo branches were. After calming down, Emo Qinyun's expression tensed up and he continued to go deeper into the sea of bamboo. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, when Emo Qinyun went deeper into the sea of bamboo, bamboo roots as thick as an arm suddenly burst out from the ground. After these bamboo roots came out, they quickly wrapped around Mo Qingyun with lightning speed. Divine Earth War Shield. Scorching Sun Shield. Facing these bamboo roots, Mo Qingyun did not dare to be careless. He quickly used two major defensive techniques. Bang bang bang. When the bamboo roots came into contact with the Divine Earth War Shield and Scorching Sun Shield, they produced a series of deafening sounds and were blocked around Mo Qingyun. Seeing that these bamboo roots were blocked outside his body, Mo Qingyun quickly waved the immortal burning battle halberd and crazily bombarded these bamboo roots. Under Mo Qingyun's crazy bombardment, these bamboo roots slowly retreated and returned to the ground. This can't go on. I must find a bamboo demon with offensive power as soon as possible. After receiving successive bamboo attacks, Mo Qingyun's expression turned grave as he thought of a countermeasure. As Mo Qingyun pondered, he also released his soul force to sense the location of a bamboo demon with offensive power. After sensing for a while, Mo Qingyun found the location of the bamboo demon. His figure moved and he quickly chased after it. This bamboo demon's strength was very strong. It had already reached the middle stage of the immortal Dew Realm. Arriving in front of this bamboo demon, Mo Qingyun discovered that its body was 100 times bigger than ordinary bamboo. Its entire body was dark green like a piece of jade. Swish swish swish. Seeing Mo Qingyun attacking it, the jade bamboo demon released bamboo leaves at Mo Qingyun, blocking Mo Qingyun's advance. Divine Earth War Shield. Facing these bamboo leaves, Mo Qingyun used the Divine Earth War Shield in front of him to block those bamboo leaves. Under the protection of the Divine Earth War Shield, Mo Qingyun easily blocked the bamboo leaves and arrived in front of the jade bamboo demon. Heavenly Flames Sky-Breaking Halberd. Arriving in front of the jade bamboo demon, Mo Qingyun immediately waved the immortal burning battle halberd and attacked the bamboo pole of the jade bamboo demon. The immortal burning battle halberd struck the bamboo pole of the jade bamboo demon. Immediately, sparks flew and marks were left on the bamboo pole. However, this degree of damage was just like scratching an itch for the jade bamboo demon that was close to 1 meter in diameter. This bamboo demon's body is too hard. Physical attacks are useless. It seems that I can only try soul attacks. Chapter 12:31. I Light Blade Light. Mo Qingyun decided to use soul attacks to deal with the jade bamboo demon. He released a soul eye light ray and shot it at the jade bamboo demon. Then, a soul eye light ray that was comparable to a heaven immortal realm expert's full strength shot out from Mo Qingyun's left eye. Poochie! The soul eye light ray was very fast. In the blink of an eye, it blasted into the jade bamboo demon's body. After being hit by the soul eye light ray, the jade bamboo demon immediately twisted its body and made a pained expression. The soul attack is effective. Seeing the jade bamboo demon's performance, Mo Qingyun's face lit up. He knew how to deal with the jade bamboo demon. Although the jade bamboo demon's body was strong, its attainments in the soul were very ordinary. This was a breakthrough to deal with it. Mo, come out and help me fight. After finding a way to deal with the jade bamboo demon, Mo Qingyun moved Mo out of the 5 directions small pagoda and let him deal with the jade bamboo demon with him. Now that Mo's cultivation had reached the 2nd level of the heaven immortal realm, his eye light rays attack was several times stronger than before. Now, the power of his eye light ray was so strong that even an immortal mist expert who was good at soul cultivation might not be able to withstand it. Not to mention this jade bamboo demon that was not good at soul cultivation. Then, facing the joint attack of Mo Qingyun and Mo, the jade bamboo demon's aura became weaker and weaker. After several hours, under the fierce attacks of Mo Qingyun and Mo, the jade bamboo demon finally fell to the ground unwillingly. After the jade bamboo demon was killed by Mo Qingyun, the scene in front of him changed. He returned to the ethereal immortal abode. Congratulations, you've passed the level. When Emo Qingyun returned to the ethereal immortal abode, the young man in the immortal abode said to Emo Qingyun with a faint smile on his face, "You let me win." Hearing the young man's words, Emo Qingyun nodded humbly and walked toward the third level of the third level. When Emo Qingyun arrived at the third level, the young man from the previous 2 levels appeared in front of him again. The appearance of the young man in the third stage was very different from the one in the previous 2 stages. In the first 2 stages, this young man was dressed like a scholar, but now he was wearing flaming scale armor and holding a 2-meter-long saber. Other than that, the aura emanating from this young man was much stronger than that of the previous 2 stages. Late stage Immortal Dew. Sensing the young man's aura, Emo Qingyun's expression turned serious. His body emitted a strong battle intent. Although the pressure that this young man gave him was much greater than the previous 2 stages, it still stimulated his fighting spirit. What an amazing fighting spirit! Interesting. Sensing Emo Qingyun's battle intent, the former revealed a bewildered expression. Glancing at Emo Qingyun, he said solemnly, "Although your cultivation base is only at the 4th level of the heaven tier, your powerful battle intent has won my respect. I will fight you with all my strength." "Thank you." Hearing the young man's words, Emo Qingyun nodded gratefully and took the immortal burning halberd in his hand. Burning all directions. When Emo Qingyun took out the immortal burning halberd, the young man in front of him waved his saber and swept it toward Emo Qingyun in all directions. The young man's saber swept out and a terrifying flame energy erupted from the saber in his hand. Even Emo Qingyun, who had the protection of the scorching sun, felt an intense burning sensation when he was hit by the power of this flame. Fight to the death. Sky-breaking halberd. However, Emo Qingyun did not admit defeat. Instead, he waved the immortal burning halberd to meet his opponent. Under Emo Qingyun's waving, the immortal burning halberd also erupted with a terrifying heat wave and collided with the saber in the opponent's hand. Clang! When the immortal burning halberd and the saber collided, there was a crisp sound and an even more terrifying firestorm erupted. Under the impact of this firestorm, Emo Qingyun and the young man's bodies were constantly pushed back. Of course, the young man only took half a step back while Emo Qingyun was sent flying. After knocking down a few pillars in succession, Emo Qingyun stabilized his body and his face became a little red. However, with his strong physical defense, Emo Qingyun did not suffer any serious injuries. To think that you were able to take my saber head-on without suffering any serious injuries. I have underestimated you. Seeing that Emo Qingyun's qi and blood were surging after his all-out attack, the young man's face was filled with shock. This situation was too different from what he had expected. So strong. After stabilizing his body with difficulty, Emo Qingyun was also shocked. He did not expect his opponent to be so strong. However, under such circumstances, Emo Qingyun's fighting spirit was aroused. Although you are very strong, if I fight to the death, I may have a chance to win. Looking at the young man in front of him, Emo Qingyun's face was filled with determination. He had decided to fight to the death with his opponent. In the short exchange just now, Emo Qingyun felt that his god of war transformation was on the verge of a breakthrough. Perhaps he could make use of this battle to break through to the 2nd level of the god of war transformation and fight to the death. Sealed door. Blood Qi Berserk. After Emo Qingyun made up his mind, he threw away all distracting thoughts and used 2 martial soul mystique. After Emo Qingyun used the sealed door, it turned into a white ray of light and shot into the young man's body. After being suppressed by the sealed door, the young man's aura started to fall rapidly. As the young man's aura fell, Emo Qingyun's aura started to rise rapidly. In a short while, Emo Qingyun's cultivation level reached the 5th level of the sky-human realm, while the young man's cultivation level fell to the middle level of the immortal dew realm. I didn't expect you to have such a mystique. Seeing the changes in their cultivation levels, the young man said in surprise. He took the initiative to brandish his long saber and attack Mo Qingyun. He shouted, "Supreme Grade Immortal Artifact Wild Goose Dragon Mark, open!" Roar. After the young man shouted, the long saber in his hand shone brightly and emitted a terrifying aura. Under the power of the long saber, the immortal scorching battle halberd's aura started to weaken. It was like a grain of light meeting the moon. Even so, Mo Qingyun didn't back down. He continued to charge at his opponent with the immortal scorching battle halberd. Then, Mo Qingyun started to fight with his opponent. He didn't show any signs of backing down. As Mo Qingyun fought with his opponent, the fighting spirit emanating from his body grew stronger and stronger. After an unknown amount of time, the battle intent on Mo Qingyun's body finally reached a critical point. Fight to the death. Break. Sensing that his battle intent had reached its peak, Mo Qingyun roared and started to break through to the next level of the God of War transformation. Then, a blood-red light flashed in Mo Qingyun's eyes. The intensity of his battle intent entered a whole new level. Chapter 1232. After reaching the second level of the God of War transformation, Mo Qingyun's aura increased by 30%. At the same time that Mo Qingyun's aura grew stronger, the battle intent he exuded also doubled in strength. Facing the suppression of Mo Qingyun's battle intent, the young man's battle intent decreased by 70%. The battle intent he emitted weakened, and the strength of the gatekeeper was also weakened by nearly 30%. Because of this, Mo Qingyun, who was originally in a disadvantageous position, suddenly turned the tide of the battle around and gained the upper hand. Great Heavenly Demon Finger. After gaining the upper hand in the battle, Mo Qingyun no longer had any choice. He directly blasted a finger at the young man. A terrifying black origin energy burst out from Mo Qingyun's thumb and turned into a giant finger with terrifying demonic power. The giant finger condensed above the young gatekeeper and pressed down on him with the force of a thunderbolt. Bang! The attack of the great heavenly demon finger was extremely fast. Before the young man could react, he was blasted into the ground by the great heavenly demon finger. After a while, the young man's figure appeared again. His body was covered with wounds and he looked extremely embarrassed. However, Mo Qingyun didn't stop there. Instead, he continued to attack him with the immortal burning battle halberd. Seeing Mo Qingyun charging towards him, the young man waved his hand at Mo Qingyun and said, "You don't have to fight anymore. You have passed. Admit it." Seeing this young man's performance, Mo Qingyun stopped what he was doing and cupped his hands humbly. After that, Mo Qingyun didn't stop and walked towards the fourth level of the third level. As soon as he arrived at the fourth trial of the third floor, Mo Qingyun felt a terrifying pressure descend upon him. This was the aura of a powerhouse at the peak of the Immortal Dew stage. Level 4 of the Sky Human Realm. Sensing Mo Qingyun's cultivation level, the consciousness body guarding the fourth trial also revealed a surprised expression. Obviously, he was very surprised that Mo Qingyun was able to reach him with such a cultivation. Interesting. In that case, let me see what you are capable of. After a short moment of surprise, the mental clone didn't say anything to Mo Qingyun. He waved the battle saber in his hand and slashed at Mo Qingyun. Suddenly, a violent spiritual energy that could destroy the world burst out from the saber of the guarding spiritual body. Heavenly Flame's sky-breaking halberd. Mo Qingyun didn't dare to be careless. He hurriedly waved the immortal burning battle halberd in his hand to block the attack. As the immortal burning battle halberd clashed with the other party's battle blade, Mo Qingyun felt a terrifying power rush into his body. Under the impact of this force, Mo Qingyun's body flew out and slammed heavily into the wall behind him. Puff! After colliding with the wall, Mo Qingyun spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face turned pale. Too strong. Although the cultivation of the mental clone guarding the fourth level was only a small realm higher than that of the previous level, the difference in strength between the two was too great. Under such a huge gap in strength, all of Mo Qingyun's means seemed to be powerless. However, Mo Qingyun didn't admit defeat. Instead, he continued to fight with the gatekeeper. In the end, after Mo Qingyun used all of his trump cards, he was still killed by the gatekeeper. After Mo Qingyun was killed by the gatekeeper, his figure disappeared from the fourth level and returned to the entrance of the ethereal immortal mansion. It seems that my strength should be between the late stage and peak immortal due after using all of my trump cards. After several tests in the ethereal immortal mansion, Mo Qingyun had a clear understanding of his current strength. Mo Qingyun muttered to himself in his heart before he didn't stay any longer. He turned around and left the misty immortal abode. At this moment, as Mo Qingyun walked out of the ethereal immortal mansion, his ranking changed again. Ethereal Immortal Mansion's Assessment Ranking List. First place, Jizhua, Level 3, 10th level, time taken, 2 incense stick. Second place, Qianguang Sun, Level 3, 9th level, time taken, 3 incense stick. Third place, Yuan Xie, Level 3, 8th level, time taken, 1 incense stick. 23rd place, Mo Qingyun, Level 3, 3rd level, time taken, 2 incense stick. 27th place, 100 Changes Golden Peak, Level 3, 2nd level, time taken, 3 incense stick. Outside the ethereal immortal mansion, 100 Changes Golden Peak was stunned when he saw the change in Mo Qingyun's ranking. Mo Qingyun's ranking had surpassed his. Not long ago, Mo Qingyun was mocked by him. Now, he had surpassed him. This huge difference made him feel very uncomfortable. Thump thump thump, under such a huge blow, 100 Changes Golden Peak couldn't help but tremble. He took a few steps back. No. Impossible. How could his strength have improved so much in just a month? 100 Changes Golden Peak couldn't accept this result. He felt as if there was a huge rock stuck in his throat. When he first met Mo Qingyun, the gap between him and Mo Qingyun wasn't as big as the difference between clouds and mud, but it was still a gap. However, when he compared himself with Mo Qingyun for the second time, the gap between him and Mo Qingyun had narrowed to only 1 place. Even so, he was still ahead of Mo Qingyun. Who would have thought that in just a month's time, Mo Qingyun would overtake him so strongly? This difference made 100 Changes Golden Peak feel very uncomfortable. At this moment, while 100 Changes Golden Peak was feeling down, Mo Qingyun walked out of the ethereal immortal mansion. Seeing 100 Changes Golden Peak outside the ethereal immortal mansion, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly. He walked up to him leisurely and pointed at the ethereal immortal mansion assessment ranking. Hey, you've overtaken me. As soon as Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he no longer paid any attention to the versatile Golden Peak, leaving him with a cool back view. Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, the Golden Peak of 100 Transformations immediately trembled with anger. He felt greatly humiliated. Mo Qingyun, you've gone too far. Recalling Mo Qingyun's disdainful look, 100 Changes Golden Peak clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. Soon, it will be time for the new disciples to gain experience. When the time comes, I'll make sure you don't return. Although your ethereal immortal mansion assessment results are good, it doesn't mean that you're really strong. At this moment, 100 Changes Golden Peak still held on to the last bit of hope in his heart. He felt that Mo Qingyun's good results in the ethereal immortal mansion assessment must have been due to some external factors. Qingyun, you're really amazing. You actually raised your ranking to 23rd. Seeing Mo Qingyun walk up to them, Ghost Moon and Chu Yunyun were pleasantly surprised. Their eyes were filled with admiration. They knew very well how difficult the ethereal immortal mansion assessment was and how difficult it was to raise one's ranking. Chapter 1233. Chapter content begins. Dong, dong, dong. At this moment, as Emo Qingyun's group of 3 were talking, a thunderous sound of a gong entered their ears. After hearing the gong sound, Emo Qingyun and the others' expressions changed. They immediately understood the meaning of the gong sound. The Eternal South Immortal Palace was gathering the new disciples and was about to announce the mission. Then, Emo Qingyun and the others did not hesitate and rushed to the source of the sound. After a short while, Emo Qingyun and the others came to a huge square and waited for the mission to be announced. After a short while, Emo Qingyun and the others waited. 2 young men who looked to be in their 30s walked into the square with a scroll in their hand. "Greetings, senior brother." Seeing the 2 of them walk into the square, everyone in the square showed a respectful expression and bowed to the 2 of them. The 2 men's cultivation was not low. They had reached the peak of the immortal core stage of the heaven immortal stage, and were only 1 step away from the immortal infant stage. Looking at their clothes, they seemed to be disciples of the Eternal South Immortal Palace. However, their status was higher than Emo Qingyun and the others. When the 2 men came to the center of the square, they looked arrogant and glanced at Emo Qingyun and the others in the square. When the 2 men saw Yuan Xie, they nodded to him. They seemed to be familiar with each other. The 2 men exchanged glances with Yuan Xie. Then, they followed Yuan Xie's gaze and looked in the direction of Emo Qingyun. After realizing this, Emo Qingyun's expression tensed and a bad feeling rose in his heart. Looking at the 2 men and Yuan Xie's behavior, they seemed to be plotting something and were preparing to deal with Emo Qingyun in the mission. Now, when Emo Qingyun was alert, the young man in blue said in a deep voice, "Now, I will announce the mission to you. It is to investigate the death of the Iron Earthworm tribe's leader." After the death of the Iron Earthworm tribe's leader, the leader of the Iron Earthworm tribe is the great elder of the Iron Earthworm tribe. Next, the blue-clothed youth told Emo Qingyun and the others some information about the Iron Mystic tribe. From the young man's words, it seemed that the Iron Earthworm race had secretly pledged allegiance to other ancient races and were preparing to betray the Eternal South Immortal Palace. Looks like this mission isn't simple. Emo Qingyun's brows furrowed as he listened to the blue-clothed young man's explanation. He pondered what to do next. To Emo Qingyun, it didn't matter if he could complete the mission given by the Eternal South Immortal Palace. The most important thing was how he could resolve Yuan Xie and the others' scheme. After all, if he failed the mission, he could do it again. If he fell into Yuan Xie's trap and lost his life because of it, it would be a huge loss. The blue-clothed youth briefly explained the information about the Iron Earthworm clan. Then, he said with a serious expression, "In order to make this operation more disciplined, we have decided to divide you into groups of 6. Each group has 2 ordinary, elite, and core disciples." Hearing the words of the blue-clothed youth, the expressions of the ordinary disciples and elite disciples immediately became much more relaxed. In their opinion, with 2 core disciples accompanying them, the following operation would be much safer. Then, the blue-clothed youth opened the document in his hand and began to announce the names of the groups. Group 1: Jizhua, Li Tao, Han Wei, Wang Si, Chen Lin, Gu Pan. Group 2: Qian Guangsun, Song Li, Yu Qinghao, Ma Juanqiang, Zhou Jingping, Hu Hai. Group 17: Yun Xing, Emo Qingyun, Wang Wenhui, Li Kong, Zhao Lanwen, Kong Shang. After a while, the list of more than 100 groups was read out by the blue-clothed youth. When the names of the teams were read out, the 6 people in each team began to gather together. "It's him." Emo Qingyun frowned when he saw Yun Xing walking towards him. A trace of vigilance rose in his heart. Emo Qingyun had some impression of Yun Xing. This guy often stayed with Yuan Xie. Now, Yun Xing wanted to be in the same group as Emo Qingyun. It seemed that he didn't come with good intentions. "Senior brother Yun Xing, senior brother Emo Qingyun." Looking at Emo Qingyun and Yun Xing in front of them, the 4 ordinary and elite disciples bowed respectfully. Although Emo Qingyun's cultivation was lower than theirs, They didn't dare to be presumptuous in front of Mo Qingyun. They couldn't help it. Although Mo Qingyun's cultivation was not high, his strength was not something they could compare with. Mo Qingyun and Yun Xing nodded indifferently in response to the four's salute. This was considered a response to their greetings. Since the team assignments have been completed, follow the two of us. After dividing Mo Qingyun and the others into groups, the blue-clothed youth and Shui Luo flew out of the Eternal South Immortal Palace. Hearing the blue-clothed youth and Shui Luo's instructions, the others didn't hesitate and followed them. Senior Brother Shin Xiong, Senior Brother Shui Luo, how is the strength of the Iron Earthworm clan? Shouldn't you tell us about it? On the way to the Iron Earthworm clan, Jizhua asked Shin Xiong and Shui Luo with a cold expression. Hearing Jizhua's tone, Shin Xiong showed a displeased expression and said, "Jizhua, don't think that you can talk to us in such a tone just because you are the first among the new disciples. If you want to stay in the Eternal South Immortal Palace, you must learn to respect your seniors. You don't have the right to teach me how to do things." Hearing Shin Xiong's displeased words, Jizhua retorted without showing any weakness and said, "Shin Xiong, you should know that the Eternal South Immortal Palace gave you the task of conveying the information of the Iron Earthworm clan to us and taking us to the Iron Earthworm clan's territory. Now you are deliberately hiding the strength of the Iron Earthworm clan. Aren't you afraid of being punished by the Eternal South Immortal Palace?" Hearing Jizhua's words, Shin Xiong showed an angry expression. He didn't know how to refute Jizhua. Although Jizhua's words were not polite, what he said was the truth, so he couldn't refute it. After a short silence, Shin Xiong's face darkened. He wanted to teach Jizhua a lesson. "Shin Xiong, don't be impulsive." Seeing Shin Xiong's action, Shui Luo's face immediately tightened. He hurriedly persuaded Shin Xiong, "Have you forgotten the purpose of our trip? Our purpose is to deal with Mo Qingyun. It's not worthwhile to offend Jizhua." Hearing Shui Luo's persuasion, Shin Xiong's face turned better and he stopped attacking Jizhua. Seeing Shin Xiong's action, Shui Luo's face relaxed a lot. He turned to Jizhua and said with a smile, "Junior brother Jizhua, we were indeed careless just now. Now in the Iron Earthworm clan, the strongest person is the great elder of the Iron Earthworm clan. He is at the peak of the Immortal Fog stage of the Heaven Immortal stage." Then, Shui Luo explained the strength of the Iron Earthworm clan to everyone in detail. Peak of the Immortal Fog stage of the Heaven Immortal stage. Mo Qingyun immediately frowned when he heard Shui Luo's words, and the vigilance in his heart grew even stronger. Chapter 1234. After 2 days of training, Mo Qingyun and the others finally arrived at the Iron Talon tribe. Arriving outside the Iron Talon tribe, Chun Xiong did not bring Mo Qingyun and the rest into the Iron Talon tribe. Glancing at the Iron Talon tribe, Chun Xiong's expression became more serious, and his brows furrowed. Looking at his expression, he seemed to have found something wrong. 2 hours ago, Senior Brother Jing said he would wait for us here. Why don't I see him now? Shin Xiong pondered for a moment and said doubtfully. Then, he turned to look at Mo Qingyun and the others and said, "There's a change in the plan. Let's find a place to settle down first. We'll enter the Iron Earthworm clan after I get in touch with my senior brother from the Immortal Palace." After telling Mo Qingyun and the others, Chun Xiong flew to a hill not far away, intending to let Mo Qingyun and the others settle down there first. Hearing Chun Xiong's words, Mo Qingyun was puzzled, but he still followed Chun Xiong to the hill. After a while, Mo Qingyun and the others arrived at the hill, waiting for Chun Xiong's next arrangement. Under everyone's gaze, Chun Xiong took out a jade mirror and formed a hand seal in front of the jade mirror. Then, a light flashed on the jade mirror, and a figure appeared. This person's clothes were the same as Chun Xiong's, and he seemed to be a disciple of the Eternal South Immortal Palace. Senior Brother Jing Shijing, I didn't see you at the meeting place just now. Did something happen in the Iron Talon tribe? Looking at the young man in the jade mirror, Shen Xiong revealed a worried expression and said something that was puzzling. Hearing Shen Xiong's question, Zheng Shijing in the jade mirror sighed and said with a heavy expression, "Indeed, a great change has occurred. The Iron Earthworm clan is under the control of the three-headed Hellhound clan. Now there is a true immortal stage three-headed Hellhound in the Iron Earthworm clan. You must not enter the Iron Earthworm clan. A true immortal three-headed Hellhound tribe." Hearing Zheng Shijing's words, Chen Xiong's expression immediately changed, and he thought of a very bad consequence. He could not help but ask, "What about you and the other senior brothers?" "They're all dead." Hearing Shen Xiong's question, Zheng Shijing replied with a heavy expression, 2 hours ago, I contacted the elders of the Immortal Palace. They have already sent people to the Iron Earthworm clan and told me to tell you not to enter the Iron Earthworm clan. Find a place to settle down for the time being. After they meet up with you, we will discuss how to deal with the Iron Earthworm clan." "All right." Hearing Zheng Shijing's explanation, Shen Xiong let out a deep breath, a lingering fear in his heart. Fortunately, he was vigilant just now and didn't rashly lead everyone into the Iron Earthworm race. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. After that, Shen Xiong led Mo Qinyun and the others away from the Iron Earthworm tribe and found a secluded place to settle down. After waiting for about 20 hours, the reinforcements sent by the Eternal South Immortal Palace arrived. What surprised Mo Qinyun was that the reinforcements sent by the Eternal South Immortal Palace were Niu Xing and Xiang Xie, whom he was familiar with. Seeing the arrival of Xiang Xie and Niu Xing, Mo Qinyun smiled brightly. With Niu Xing here, his safety was guaranteed. "Greetings, Senior Niu Xing and Senior Xiang Xie." Seeing the arrival of Niu Xing and Xiang Xie, Mo Qinyun and the others showed a respectful expression and saluted Niu Xing and Xiang Xie. "No need to be so polite." Seeing the actions of Mo Qinyun and the others, Xiang Xie and Niu Xing waved their hands with a faint smile. Niu Xing said, "Due to the changes in the Iron Earthworm clan, the Immortal Palace has decided to change the mission of this training. The investigation of the death of the Iron Earthworm clan has been changed to the extermination of the Iron Earthworm clan." Extermination of the Iron Earthworm clan. Hearing the words of Xiang Xie and Xiang Xie, not only were Mo Qinyun and the others shocked, but also Shen Xiong and Xiang Xie. After all, there was a genuine Celestial Realm expert in the Iron Earthworm clan. With the cultivation of Mo Qinyun and the others, could they deal with him? Seeing the expressions of Mo Qinyun and the others, Niu Xing immediately knew what they were thinking. He smiled faintly and said, "You don't have to panic. Xiang Xie and I will kill the genuine Celestial Realm expert in the Iron Earthworm clan. As for the Immortal Elixir and the Immortal Infant Stage Iron Earthworm clan members, they will be killed by the inner disciples of the Immortal Palace." Hearing Niu Xing's words, Mo Qinyun and the others relaxed a lot. They only needed to deal with the Iron Earthworm clan members below the Immortal Dew stage, so there was not much of a problem. At this time, Xiang Xie, who had been silent all this time, added with a faint smile, "In addition, the Immortal Palace has added some additional rewards for this training. The first person to kill an Iron Earthworm clan member will receive a longevity Immortal Elixir, which can increase his cultivation by 100 years. The second person will receive a Wuyang Spiritual Purple Immortal Elixir, which can increase his cultivation by 60 years. Next, Xiang Xie explained the rewards to Mo Qinyun and the others. Increase my cultivation by 100 years? Hearing Xiang Xie's description of the effects of the Immortal Elixir, Mo Qinyun was immediately shocked. He was surprised by the effects of the Immortal Elixir. It should be known that even with the help of the time-shifting formation, Mo Qinyun had only cultivated for 100 years in this life. Consuming an immortal pill could instantly increase one's cultivation by 100 years. This was simply too shocking. Then, everyone's faces were filled with excitement and anticipation. They could not wait to kill the Iron Earthworm clan members immediately. Looking at the impatient crowd, Xiang Xie and Xiang Xie did not delay any longer. They took out a strange jade cauldron and said, "This is the Qi and Blood Cauldron. After you kill an Iron Earthworm clan member, you can use it to collect the Qi and blood of the Iron Earthworm clan members. At that time, you can count the number of Iron Earthworm clan members that you have killed." After introducing the jade cauldrons in his hand, Xiang Xie distributed them to Emo Qingyun and the others. After a while, Emo Qingyun and the others all received the Qi and Blood Cauldron. Since the Qi and Blood Cauldrons have been distributed, let's go to the Iron Talon tribe. After instructing Emo Qingyun and the others, Xiang Xie and Xiang Xie's figures flashed and led everyone deeper into the Iron Talon tribe. 15 minutes later, Emo Qingyun and the others arrived outside the Iron Talon tribe again. This time, they did not hesitate at all and directly killed their way into the Iron Talon tribe. When Xiang Xie and Xiang Xie killed their way into the Iron Talon tribe, he also sent out a signal flare to inform the inner disciples of the Immortal Palace to attack. After a while, auras that surpassed the immortal core stage of the heavenly immortal realm erupted from the Iron Talon tribe. When these auras erupted, Xue Luo and Xiang Xie did not hesitate and also rushed into the Iron Talon tribe. Before Xue Luo rushed into the Iron Talon tribe, he instructed Emo Qingyun and the others, "You will still follow the previous team and enter the Iron Talon tribe to hunt. Do not act alone." Chapter 12:35. Seeing that Xiang Xie and the others had entered the Iron Earthworm clan, Emo Qingyun and the others did not hesitate and sneaked into the Iron Earthworm clan. Soon, earthworms with many small tentacles and copper skin and iron bones appeared in front of Emo Qingyun and the others. Seeing these iron earthworms, Emo Qingyun and the others took out their weapons and rushed toward them. Facing Emo Qingyun and the others who were like wolves, tigers and leopards, the iron earthworms in the periphery were quickly slaughtered. However, when the iron earthworms in the periphery were slaughtered, a large group of iron earthworms in the inner circle rushed out. These iron earthworms in the inner circle were obviously much stronger than those in the periphery. Their cultivation was above the celestial realm, and some of them were even above the celestial realm. Facing the pursuit of these iron earthworms in the inner circle, Emo Qingyun and the others were quickly scattered in different directions. There was no other way. There were too many of them. It was not an exaggeration to say that there were hundreds of thousands of them. After a while, Yun Xing, Emo Qingyun, Wang Wenhui, Li Kong, Zhao Lanwen, and Kong Shang sneaked into a dense forest. "Senior brother Yun Xing, there are too many iron earthworms. How are we going to annihilate them?" After sneaking into the dense forest, Wang Wenhui revealed a nervous expression as he asked Yun Xing in front of him. Hearing Wang Wenhui's words, Li Kong and the other two also had the same expression. "Let's get rid of the pursuing iron earthworms first," Yun Xing replied coldly to Wang Wenhui's question behind him. After a few hours, Emo Qingyun and the others finally got rid of the pursuit of the iron earthworms. Rustle, at this moment, as Emo Qingyun and the others were moving forward, a rapid rustling of leaves came from the dense forest ahead. As the leaves rustled, Emo Qingyun saw 6 figures appear from the thicket in front of him. After seeing the 6 figures, Emo Qingyun's face turned ugly, and a wisp of killing intent flashed in his eyes. Yes, the 6 figures in front of him were the 100 Transformation Golden Peak and the others. Among the 6 people from the 100 Transformations Golden Peak, other than the 100 Transformations Devil Sun and Zhu Yi, Emo Qingyun did not have a deep impression of the other 3. In Emo Qingyun's impression, he vaguely remembered that the 3 of them were called Wu Suanxing, Gong Qingxi, and Wang Yanping. Senior brother Yun Xing, junior brothers. When the 100 Transformations Golden Peak saw Mo Qingyun and the others, he sneered at Mo Qingyun before greeting Yun Xing and the others. In 100 Transformation Golden Peak's opinion, here was the best chance to kill Mo Qingyun. At that time, even if he killed Mo Qingyun, he could blame it on the Iron Earthworm clan. So it's junior brother Jin Feng and the rest of you. Yun Xing sneered when he saw the 100 Transformation Golden Peak in front of him. He warmly greeted the 100 Transformation Golden Peak. Senior brother Yun Xing, there are too many iron earthworms. It's too dangerous for us to move alone. Why don't we move together? 100 Transformation Golden Peak exchanged a few pleasantries with Yun Xing. He no longer hid his true thoughts and was ready to move together with Yun Xing. Of course, his purpose of moving together with Yun Xing was to find an opportunity to get rid of Mo Qingyun. Wang Wenhui and the others looked expectant when they heard 100 Transformation Golden Peak's words. They hoped that Yun Xing would agree to 100 Transformation Golden Peak's request. Presumably, from their point of view, with 2 more core disciples accompanying them, their safety would be a little more guaranteed. When the Golden Peak of Transformation said this, he made eye contact with Yun Xing and deliberately glanced at Mo Qingyun. Yun Xing immediately understood 100 Transformation Golden Peak's intention. He smiled faintly and said, "Junior brother Jin Feng, you're right. It's safer to move together. Then we'll have to rely on senior brother Yun Xing's protection." 100 Transformation Golden Peak smiled evilly when he saw that Yun Xing was willing to move with him. It was as though his evil plan had succeeded. Mo Qingyun had guessed Yun Xing's and the others' intentions, but he didn't object. Mo Qingyun knew very well that even if he objected, it wouldn't be of any use. Instead, he would be blamed by the others. After forming a group with 100 Transformation Golden Peak and the others, Mo Qingyun and the others moved forward together, searching for lone iron earthworms in the dense forest to kill. With the addition of 100 Transformation Golden Peak and the others, it was indeed much safer for them to hunt iron earthworms. Of course, this was for Wang Wenhui and the others. It didn't affect Mo Qingyun too much. In Mo Qingyun's opinion, the presence of 100 Transformation Golden Peak and the others made it difficult for him to unleash his full potential. After a while, they encountered 2 large groups of iron earthworms that seemed to be converging. Senior brother Yun Xing, if these 2 groups of iron earthworms converge, I'm afraid we won't be able to deal with them. Looking at the 2 waves of iron earthworms in front of them, Golden Face of 100 Transformations revealed a solemn expression and said, "I think we can each send a junior brother to lure away 1 wave of iron earthworms so that we can deal with the other wave of iron earthworms." Your suggestion is good. Yun Xing nodded coldly when he heard 100 Transformation Golden Peak's suggestion. He then looked at Mo Qingyun and said, "Junior brother Mo, you and junior brother Zhu Yi will go and lure away the other group of iron earthworms." Me? Mo Qingyun frowned slightly when he heard Yun Xing's words. There was a hint of displeasure in his expression. With Mo Qingyun's intelligence, he could naturally tell that Yun Xing wanted him to lure away the iron earthworms, but in reality, he was sending him to his death. Zhu Yi sneered when he saw Mo Qingyun's expression. He said sarcastically, "Senior brother Mo, senior brother Yun Xing is the leader of your group. Are you going to disobey his orders?" "Shut up, it's not up to you to talk nonsense about my matters." Hearing Zhu Ye's words, Mo Qingyun's expression turned cold as he scolded him. Zhu Yi instinctively showed fear when he heard Mo Qingyun's reprimand. His face twitched a few times as he complained to Yun Xing, "Senior brother Yun Xing, you should know what I mean. I'm just speaking the truth." The 100 Transformation Devil Child sneered when he heard Zhu Ye's words. He deliberately advised Yun Xing, "Senior brother Yun Xing, Mo Qingyun might not be willing to lure away the iron earthworms because he's afraid that he won't be able to kill them. You shouldn't force him. Some people place too much importance on their personal interests. Everyone's expression changed when they heard the 100 transformation devil child's words. They looked at Emo Qinyun with dissatisfaction. Everyone's reaction meant that they agreed with the 100 transformation devil child's words. Emo Qinyun didn't waste time talking nonsense with them when he saw their reaction. He charged towards the group of iron earthworms. Chapter 1236. Seeing Emo Qinyun charging towards the iron earthworms, Golden Face Peak signaled Zhu Yi to follow Emo Qinyun. Seeing the 100 transformations Golden Peak's signal, Zhu Yi nodded with a charming expression and chased after Emo Qinyun. While Emo Qinyun was luring away a wave of iron earthworms, Golden Face Peak and the others were not in a hurry to deal with the other wave. Instead, they silently watched Emo Qinyun. Under the watchful eyes of Golden Face Peak and the others, Emo Qinyun displayed the divine earth shield and violent scorching sun and rushed into the crowd of iron earthworms. After rushing into the crowd of iron earthworms, Emo Qinyun waved the immortal burning battle halberd and wantonly slaughtered this wave of iron earthworms. The strength of this wave of iron earthworms was not strong. The strongest among them was only at the early stage immortal fog realm. They were not a match for Emo Qinyun at all. Under Emo Qinyun's attack, dozens of iron earthworms were quickly killed on the spot by Emo Qinyun. After seeing this scene, not only was Zhu Yi behind Emo Qinyun dumbfounded, but even Yun Xing and the others were dumbfounded. This situation was too different from what they had imagined. Originally, they thought that Emo Qinyun would be hunted down by the iron earthworms after luring away this wave of iron earthworms. Then, when Emo Qinyun was being chased by the iron earthworms, they would hit Emo Qinyun while he was down and directly kill Emo Qinyun. They really did not expect that Emo Qinyun's strength would be so terrifying that he could directly kill this wave of iron earthworms. How can this be? How can Emo Qinyun be so strong? Senior brother Emo is so powerful. It turns out that he had not used his full strength before and deliberately left the weaker iron earthworms to us. We have underestimated him. I didn't expect him to be so capable. Seeing Emo Qinyun's performance, Yun Xing and the others suddenly had different expressions and different thoughts in their hearts. So strong. Looking at Emo Qinyun slaughtering the iron earthworms in front of him, Zhu Yi immediately turned pale with fright, and a chill rose in his heart. Immediately after, his ill intentions towards Emo Qinyun vanished without a trace. What a joke! These iron earthworms were being slaughtered by Emo Qinyun as if they were vegetables. If he continued to cause trouble for Emo Qinyun, wouldn't that be the same as courting death? Under everyone's gaze, nearly half of the 100 iron earthworms around Emo Qinyun were killed by Emo Qinyun. After killing more than half of the iron earthworm clansmen, Emo Qinyun didn't stop. Instead, he slaughtered even faster. In the blink of an eye, all the iron earthworms around Emo Qinyun had been slaughtered. After slaughtering all the iron earthworms around him, Emo Qinyun took out the blood chi cauldron and collected the blood chi of the surrounding iron earthworms. Seeing Emo Qinyun's performance, Yun Xing and the others were shocked again. They were surprised by Emo Qinyun's performance. In just a blink of an eye, more than 100 iron earthworms around the immortal fog stage were all slaughtered by Emo Qinyun. They couldn't achieve such a result. While Yun Xing and the others were shocked, Emo Qinyun's figure moved and rushed towards the remaining wave of iron earthworms. Seeing Emo Qinyun's action, the expressions of the 100 transformations Golden Peak and the others changed drastically. They said anxiously, "Let's act quickly. Otherwise, we won't be able to kill the next iron earthworm clansman." As the words of the 100 transformations Golden Peak fell, his figure moved and rushed towards the remaining wave of iron earthworms. Just a moment ago, they were worried that there were too many iron earthworms and that they wouldn't be able to kill them. They wanted to use this to trap Emo Qinyun. But a moment later, they were worried that they wouldn't be able to kill the iron earthworms. This result was really ironic. While the 100 Transformations Golden Peak and the others were moving, Emo Qingyun had already rushed into the wave of iron earthworms and waved the immortal burning halberd to kill them. In the face of Emo Qingyun's tyrannical slaughter, the iron earthworms were not spared and their lives were reaped by the immortal burning halberd. Then, under Emo Qingyun's continuous attacks, the remaining wave of iron earthworms decreased at a speed visible to the naked eye. After a few seconds, the 100 Transformations Golden Peak and the others arrived in front of Emo Qingyun and looked at each other in dismay. They were all dead. Under Emo Qingyun's tyrannical attacks, the remaining wave of iron earthworms was also completely annihilated. Seeing this result, the 100 Transformations Golden Peak and the others couldn't help but feel angry. Emo Qingyun had actually killed all the iron earthworms and left none of them alive. Emo Qingyun didn't care about the anger of the 100 Transformations Golden Peak and the others. He took out the blood chi cauldron unhurriedly and collected the chi and blood of the surrounding iron earthworms. In a short while, the chi and blood of the surrounding iron earthworms was absorbed by Emo Qingyun into the blood chi cauldron. Emo Qingyun, you actually monopolized the chi and blood of these iron earthworms. Do you still think that we are your teammates? After a short pause, the 100 Transformation Golden Peak berated Emo Qingyun with a sullen look on his face. After hearing the 100 Transformations Golden Peak's words, the 100 Transformations Devil Child sneered and said sarcastically, "I've already said that Emo Qingyun is a selfish person who only thinks about his own interests and doesn't care about what others think." The expressions of Wang Wenhui and the others changed when they heard the 100 Transformations Devil Child's words. They looked at Emo Qingyun with dissatisfaction. It seemed like they also agreed with the 100 Transformations Devil Child's words. However, they didn't dare show it because of Emo Qingyun's strength. Upon seeing that everyone was hostile to Emo Qingyun, Yun Xing ordered Emo Qingyun coldly, "Emo Qingyun, we discovered these two waves of iron earthworms together. You can't monopolize their chi and blood. Take out the chi and blood in your blood chi cauldron and share it with everyone." "Are you ordering me?" Hearing Yun Xing's words, Emo Qingyun showed a contemptuous expression and curled his lips in disdain. Previously, Yun Xing had ordered him to lure the iron earthworms away, which had already pissed him off. He hadn't expected that Yun Xing would push his luck and order him to share the chi and blood in his blood chi cauldron. This had already exceeded the limit of his patience. "You can think of it that way," Yun Xing replied coldly to Emo Qingyun's question. He released his aura to suppress Emo Qingyun and said, "Now, take out your blood chi cauldron and share the chi and blood in it with everyone." Upon seeing Yun Xing's overbearing actions, Emo Qingyun sneered and took out his blood chi cauldron. He said coldly, "The blood chi cauldron is right here. If you want the chi and blood in it, go ahead and snatch it." As soon as Emo Qingyun finished speaking, he ignored Yun Xing and the others and turned to walk away. Upon seeing Emo Qingyun's contemptuous actions, Yun Xing and the others' faces darkened and a strong killing intent emanated from their bodies. Chapter 1237. Of course, Wang Wenhui and the others did not make a move against Emo Qingyun. They knew very well that with their strength, it was impossible for them to pose a threat to Emo Qingyun. If they were to make a move, they would only bring disaster upon themselves and fall into a calamity of annihilation. Although Wang Wenhui and the others had retreated, Zhu Ye's eyes flickered as if he was planning something sinister. Divine Earth War Shield. Scorching Sun. Facing the attacks of Yun Xing and the others, Emo Qingyun did not dare to be careless and hurriedly displayed two great defensive techniques. Suddenly, a yellow shield and a flame shield condensed around his body one after another. Bang bang bang, after the Divine Earth War Shield and the Flame Shield were condensed, they blocked the attacks of Yun Xing and the others and produced a terrifying spiritual energy storm. Under this spiritual energy storm, Mo Qingyun was immediately sent flying backward, and the direction he was sent flying was exactly where Zhu Yi was. Zhu Yi, kill Mo Qingyun. When he saw Mo Qingyun flying toward Zhu Yi, the 100 Transformations Golden Peak immediately ordered Zhu Yi with a grave expression. Hearing Golden Transformation Peak's words, Zhu Yi showed some hesitation as he considered whether to make a move against Mo Qingyun. When he saw Mo Qingyun's terrifying strength just now, he was already worried in his heart. If he continued to oppose Mo Qingyun, would he fall into a situation of eternal damnation? Mo Qingyun, go to hell! After struggling for a while, Zhu Yi finally made up his mind and raised his sword toward Mo Qingyun. Presumably, in his opinion, this was the best opportunity to kill Mo Qingyun, and it would be a pity if he missed it. Zhu Ye's sword slashed down, and a golden sword light bloomed on the sword. Its power was comparable to an all-out attack of an immortal fog stage expert. Seeing Zhu Ye's attack, Mo Qingyun's expression immediately turned gloomy and he shouted coldly, "Zhu Yi, you're courting death. Mo, kill him." As soon as Mo Qingyun finished his words, he moved Mo out of the 5 Directions Pagoda to help him kill Zhu Yi. Soon, a 3-eyed youth in a black robe appeared beside Mo Qingyun. As soon as the black-robed 3-eyed young man appeared, he formed a strange hand seal and pointed it at his forehead. Then, the spiritual eye between the eyebrows of the 3-eyed youth shone brightly and released a dazzling light. The attack speed of the light was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, it hit Zhu Ye's head and destroyed his sea of consciousness. Pucci! Zhu Ye's sea of consciousness was instantly destroyed. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his aura rapidly weakened. He was instantly killed by Mo. Seeing Mo suddenly appear and instantly kill Zhu Yi, the surrounding people all revealed shocked expressions. They were quite shocked by the scene before them. Doppelganger? A clone with the bloodline of the 3-eyed demon race? This black-clothed youth actually has the bloodline of the primordial god tribe. Who exactly is Mo Qingyun? Why does he have such a person by his side? At this moment, Yun Xing and the rest were extremely curious about Mo Qingyun's identity. Mo Qingyun, you actually colluded with the god race. So you're a spy sent by the god race. Seeing Mo Qingyun beside him, the 100 Transformations Devil Child's expression sank. He directly put a big hat on Mo Qingyun. Hearing the 100 Transformations Devil Child's words, the way everyone looked at Mo Qingyun changed drastically. Then, Wang Wenhui and the rest started to talk and speculate about Mo Qingyun's origin. Mo Qingyun's expression turned cold when he heard the 100 Transformations Devil Child's words. He stared at the 100 Transformations Devil Child and said, "100 Transformations Devil Child, I didn't expect you to fall to the point where you only know how to slander others. I'm really disappointed in you." As soon as Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he wielded the immortal immolating battle halberd and charged toward the versatile demon sun. Seeing Mo Qingyun charging towards him, the 100 Transformations Devil Child's expression changed drastically. His face turned pale. His current strength was merely at the early stage immortal fog realm. He saw with his own eyes just now that Mo Qingyun killing the early stage immortal fog realm iron earthworm race was no different from chopping vegetables. This way, he would not have any ability to resist Mo Qingyun's overbearing attack. He did not expect that in a short few months, the gap in strength between him and Mo Qingyun had already reached such an extent. "Brother Golden Peak, save me." Seeing Mo Qingyun closing in on him, the 100 Transformations Devil Child revealed a panicked expression and hurriedly asked the 100 Transformations Golden Peak for help. After the 100 Transformations Devil Child asked for help, the 100 Transformations Golden Peak and Yun Xing did not hesitate and immediately charged towards Mo Qingyun. Falling Stars / Golden Gung Raging Flame / When the 100 Transformations Golden Peak and Falling Star attacked Mo Qingyun, the two of them didn't stay idle either. They both slashed at Mo Qingyun. In an instant, numerous saber lights descended from the sky above Mo Qingyun like falling stars. When these star-like saber lights bombarded downwards, flaming saber lights wrapped in golden light also burst out from the 100 Transformations Golden Peak's saber. Seeing the 100 Transformations Golden Peak and Yun Xing's attacks, the 100 Transformations Devil Child's expression relaxed a lot, feeling that his crisis had been resolved. He believed that Mo Qingyun would definitely block the attacks of the 100 Transformations Golden Peak and Yun Xing and give up on killing him. However, before the 100 Transformations Devil Child could relax, his expression began to twitch as intense fear appeared in his eyes. This was because he realized that Mo Qingyun actually did not dodge the attacks of the 100 Transformations Golden Peak and Yun Xing. Instead, he continued to attack him in a life-or-death manner. You lunatic! Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, the 100 Transformations Devil Child's face was filled with fear as he uttered these words in a panic. While the 100 Transformations Devil Child's face was filled with fear, he also hurriedly made his move in an attempt to block Mo Qingyun's attack. However, the 100 Transformations Devil Child's defense was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot as it was instantly defeated by Mo Qingyun's attack. After the immortal immolating battle halberd destroyed the 100 Transformations Devil Child's attack, its attack speed did not decrease as it continued to bombard the 100 Transformations Devil Child. Soon, the immortal immolating battle halberd pierced through the 100 Transformations Devil Child's chest and body. Now, the 100 Transformations Devil Child was like a grilled fish stuck on a steel fork as he was being burned by the flames of the immortal immolating battle halberd. When the flames on the immortal immolating battle halberd burned the 100 Transformations Devil Child's body, his soul escaped from his body. After the 100 Transformations Devil Child's soul escaped from his body, he revealed a terrified expression as he tried to escape in the direction of the 100 Transformations Devil Child. This time, I won't let you escape. Seeing the actions of the 100 Transformations Devil Child's soul, Mo Qingyun said coldly as he instructed Mo to attack the 100 Transformations Devil Child's soul. A black ray of I-Force flashed as it tyrannically struck the 100 Transformations Devil Child's soul. After receiving the attack of Mo's I-Force, the 100 Transformations Devil Child's soul started to dissipate bit by bit. No, I can't accept this. As the 100 Transformations Devil Child's soul dissipated, he screamed at the top of his lungs. His expression was filled with unwillingness, regret, and fear. Chapter 1238. Bang! While Mo Qingyun was killing the Devil Son of 100 Transformations, Golden Peak of 100 Transformations and Yun Xing's attacks landed on him one after another. Mo Qingyun was immediately sent flying by the attacks of Golden Peak of 100 Transformations and Yun Xing, crashing into the dense forest at the side. When Mo Qingyun was sent flying, Golden Peak of 100 Transformations and Yun Xing did not stop attacking. They continued to pursue Mo Qingyun. Sealed door. Seeing that Golden Peak of 100 Transformations and Yun Xing were chasing after him, Mo Qingyun did not wait for his death. He quickly cast Sealed Door on Golden Peak of 100 Transformations and Yun Xing. Then, two mini-light doors quickly condensed in front of Mo Qingyun and blasted towards Golden Peak of 100 Transformations and Yun Xing. Because Mo Qingyun's attack was too sudden, the sealing gate blasted into their bodies before the 100 Transformations Golden Peak duo could react. Then, the aura of Golden Peak of 100 Transformations and Yun Xing began to weaken rapidly. After realizing this, Golden Peak of 100 Transformations and Yun Xing's expressions changed drastically. There was a look of horror in their eyes. None of them had expected that Mo Qingyun would actually have such a method to seal other people's cultivation. Blood Qi Rampage. Fight to the end. While Golden Peak of 100 Transformations and Yun Xing were still in shock, Mo Qingyun stabilized his body and cast two powerful strengthening techniques in succession. Under the support of Blood Qi Rampage and Fight to the End, the aura emanating from Mo Qingyun's body quickly reached the peak of 5th level Celestial Being Stage. Peak of 5th level Celestial Being Stage. Golden Peak of 100 Transformations and Yun Xing were shocked when they sensed Mo Qingyun's aura. They were even more wary of Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun, who was only at 4th level Celestial Being Stage, was already very difficult to deal with. Now that Mo Qingyun's cultivation had risen to the peak of 5th level Celestial Being Stage, it would be even more difficult for them to deal with Mo Qingyun. Golden Snake Flashing Halberd. Mo Qingyun didn't pay attention to the duosphere. He swung the Immortal Immolation Battle Halberd at the 100 Transformations Golden Peak. Instantly, the Immortal Burning Halberd shone with golden light, enveloping Mo Qingyun and the halberd. Enveloped by this golden light, Mo Qingyun and the Immortal Immolating Halberd immediately disappeared from Yun Xing and Luo Xing's line of sight. Mo Qingyun disappeared? Seeing Mo Qingyun's figure disappear, Golden Mountain of 100 Transformations and Yun Xing were stunned. They were shocked by the scene before them. If they couldn't see Mo Qingyun, how were they going to deal with Mo Qingyun? At this moment, while the 100 Transformations Golden Peak was still in a daze, a terrifying aura suddenly enveloped him. Sensing this terrifying aura, the 100 Transformations Golden Peak's expression instinctively trembled, and he quickly retreated. Although the 100 Transformations Golden Peak's reaction was fast enough, Mo Qingyun's attack speed was even faster. Just as the 100 Transformations Golden Peak's body leaned slightly to the side, the Immortal Immolation Battle Halberd had already hit him and smashed his shoulder domineeringly. Crack! Under the domineering bombardment of the Immortal Immolation Battle Halberd, the 100 Transformations Golden Peak's shoulder was cut off like a piece of paper. When the Immortal Immolation Battle Halberd cut off the 100 Transformations Golden Peak's arm, a terrifying flame energy emerged from it and blasted the 100 Transformations Golden Peak away. Ah! My arm! The 100 Transformations Golden Peak immediately screamed as his arm was cut off by the Immortal Immolation Battle Halberd. His face was extremely pale. Seeing the miserable state the 100 Transformations Golden Peak was in, Yun Xing immediately revealed a panicked expression. He was extremely wary of Mo Qingyun in his heart. Even with the four of them working together, Mo Qingyun still managed to kill two of them and cripple one of them in the blink of an eye. Such terrifying combat strength was no longer something he could deal with. With my strength alone, I'm afraid I won't be able to deal with Mo Qingyun. After witnessing Mo Qingyun's strength, Yun Xing quickly recognized the situation. He knew that he was no match for Mo Qingyun. After understanding this, Yun Xing did not continue to stay. He immediately turned around and fled into the distance. Seeing Yun Xing's actions, the 100 Transformations Golden Peak's expression twitched. He revealed a strong sense of panic as he shouted, "Senior brother Yun Xing, don't leave me behind." The 100 Transformations Golden Peak was now afraid. Even with the four of them working together, they did not pose a threat to Mo Qingyun. Now, he was the only one left. Moreover, he had lost an arm. How could he be a match for Mo Qingyun? In this way, if Mo Qingyun wanted to kill him, wouldn't he be dead for sure? Seeing the fate of the 100 Transformations Golden Peak and Yun Xing, Wang Wenhui and the others who were at the side trembled with a strong sense of lingering fear in their hearts. Fortunately, they did not make a move against Mo Qingyun. Otherwise, they would be dead for sure. They all knew that Mo Qingyun was very strong, but for Mo Qingyun to be strong to such an extent, it truly exceeded their expectations. Senior brother Mo is too strong. Senior brother Yun Xing and the others are not a match for him even when they work together. With the strength that senior brother Mo has displayed, I'm afraid he's comparable to the top 10 of the Ethereal Immortal Manners assessment. Even if he's not in the top 10, he's definitely in the top 15. Senior brother Mo is too low-key. At this moment, Mo Qingyun's image in the hearts of Wang Wenhui and the others suddenly became much higher. While everyone was looking at Mo Qingyun held the immortal burning battle halberd and charged towards the 100 Transformations Golden Peak again. Mo Qingyun's figure flashed and arrived in front of the 100 Transformations Golden Peak in the blink of an eye. He slashed his halberd at the 100 Transformations Golden Peak domineeringly. Senior brother Mo, I was wrong. Please spare me this one time. The 100 Transformations Golden Peak panicked when he saw Mo Qingyun attacking him. He hurriedly begged Mo Qingyun. Of course, while the 100 Transformations Golden Peak was begging for mercy, he didn't forget to block Mo Qingyun's halberd. Under the 100 Transformations Golden Peak's wave, the blazing saber in his hand immediately released a dazzling saber radiance. The dazzling saber radiance blasted towards the immortal burning battle halberd, temporarily blocking it. After blocking Mo Qingyun's halberd, the 100 Transformations Golden Peak didn't dare to hesitate. He quickly turned around and fled into the distance. 100 Transformations Golden Peak, you can't escape. Be a good boy and accompany the 100 Transformations Devil Child. Looking at the fleeing 100 Transformations Golden Peak, Mo Qingyun's face turned cold and his body emitted a strong killing intent. Then, Mo Qingyun took a step forward and chased after the 100 Transformations Golden Peak. However, just as Mo Qingyun was chasing after the 100 Transformations Golden Peak, an extremely terrifying aura suddenly shrouded the area around them. This was the aura of a true immortal expert. Sensing this terrifying aura, Mo Qingyun and the others' expressions changed drastically. A sense of reverence rose in their hearts. A powerful being of the true immortal state was definitely not someone that they could deal with. This aura of a true immortal expert doesn't belong to Senior Xiang Xie or Senior Niu Xing. Could it be Mo Qingyun was very familiar with the aura of Niu Xing and Xiang Xie? He could immediately identify it. Currently, there were only 3 true immortal experts around the Iron Chimera tribe: Xiang Xie, Niu Xing, and the Cerberus. Chapter 1239. The Teleportation Gate. After learning the identity of this true immortal expert, Mo Qingyun didn't think too much about it and immediately used a transportation gate to escape. Although his physical body was strong and he could fight opponents several levels higher than him, he could only be killed by the 3-headed hellhound with the cultivation of a true immortal. Mo Qingyun lifted his foot and stepped into the teleportation gate. His figure immediately disappeared from where he stood. After a while, Mo Qingyun came to a spacious forest and got rid of the 3-headed hellhound's aura. After coming to this open space, Mo Qingyun did not rush to explore the surroundings. Instead, he sat down cross-legged and adjusted his breathing. After several hours, Mo Qingyun came out of his meditation and recovered to his peak state. After looking around, Mo Qingyun chose to go east, which was the direction of the Iron Earthworm tribe. His mission in coming to the Iron Earthworm tribe was to hunt down the members of the Iron Earthworm tribe, so he couldn't relax. After all, the first place of this mission would be rewarded with an eternal longevity elixir. As Mo Qingyun kept going east, groups of iron earthworms began to appear in his sight. Mo Qingyun would not let go of these iron earthworms who were alone. He killed them one by one and used the qi and blood cauldron to collect their qi and blood. In addition, after collecting the qi and blood of these iron earthworms, Mo Qingyun used the soul summoning gate on their corpses. Soon after, the armored shadow of earthworms appeared beside Mo Qingyun. With the help of these shadow of iron earthworms, Mo Qingyun's speed of killing iron earthworms was greatly improved. One day later, the number of iron earthworms following Mo Qingyun had reached the level of more than 10,000. At this moment, as Mo Qingyun was moving forward with the shadow of iron earthworms, a streamer came to him at an extremely fast speed. "Greetings, Senior Xiang Xie." When Mo Qingyun saw the identity of this streak of light, he revealed a respectful expression and cupped his hands towards the other party. "Huh? Is this the ghost of the Iron Earthworm clan?" Looking at the tens of thousands of iron mantis ghosts behind Mo Qingyun, Xiang Xie was surprised by Mo Qingyun's performance. He smiled and said, "I didn't expect you to be proficient in Soul Dao spells. I underestimated you." After praising Mo Qingyun, Xiang Xie's expression turned serious as he said, "Qingyun, I want to tell you something. The Iron Earthworm race's Cerberus has escaped. He's escaping towards the west. Try not to forget that direction. It really is the Cerberus." Hearing Xiang Xie's explanation, Mo Qingyun's heart trembled slightly. His previous guess had been answered. Mo Qingyun pondered for a moment before nodding to Xiang Xie. "Thank you for your reminder, Senior. I understand." Seeing that Mo Qingyun realized the seriousness of the matter, Xiang Xie nodded with satisfaction. He said a few more words to Mo Qingyun before leaving. After parting ways with Xiang Xie, Mo Qingyun continued to head towards the Iron Earthworm tribe to hunt down the remaining iron earthworms. With Mo Qingyun's current lineup, there was no need to hide anymore if he wanted to hunt down the iron earthworms. Roar. A few hours later, a roar that shook the heavens and earth suddenly came from the ground below Mo Qingyun. Hearing this deafening roar, Mo Qingyun's expression immediately changed. A sense of uneasiness arose in his heart. "Damn it, it's the Cerberus. Transmission gate." After discovering this, Mo Qingyun didn't have time to think and immediately used the transmission gate to escape. Then, Mo Qingyun abandoned the tens of thousands of iron earthworms and escaped through the transmission gate. However, what Mo Qingyun didn't expect was that the Cerberus actually caught up with him after he used the transmission gate to escape. Then, Mo Qingyun saw the appearance of the Cerberus. It was a person with 3 dog heads. A boy at the 4th level of the Celestial Being stage has actually killed over 10,000 iron earthworms. How amazing! Looking at Mo Qingyun in front of him, the true Celestial stage expert of the Cerberus tribe praised him. "Boy, I'm the Martial Star Lord of the Cerberus tribe. Now I'll give you a chance. If you're willing to be my puppet and go to the Eternal South Immortal Palace on behalf of the Cerberus tribe, I'll spare your life." Hearing the Martial Star Lord's words, Mo Qingyun quickly thought about how to resolve the crisis in front of him. With Mo Qingyun's current cultivation, it was obviously impossible to fight the Martial Star Lord head-on. However, using a teleportation gate to escape might not work either. As such, Mo Qingyun only had 3 choices. He could either submit to the Martial Star Lord, ask the God Shooter Bao for help, or stall for time until Xiang Xie and the Martial Star Lord arrive. Previously, when Mo Qingyun was dealing with Tiger Soul, he had already asked the God Shooter Bao for help once. If he asked the God Shooter Bao for help again, he would have to ask the God Shooter Bao for help again. "Boy, have you thought it through? There's a limit to my patience." Seeing that Mo Qingyun hadn't replied for a long time, the Martial Star Lord showed an impatient expression and urged Mo Qingyun. In the Martial Star Lord's opinion, Mo Qingyun's current behavior was suspected to be stalling for time. It could even be said that Mo Qingyun was now asking for help from the Eternal South Immortal Palace's experts to deal with him. Seeing Martial Star Lord's impatient expression, Mo Qingyun made a decision. He planned to ask the God Shooter Bao for help. Based on the current situation, stalling for time until Xiang Xie and the Martial Star Lord arrived was probably wishful thinking. However, Mo Qingyun was still a little reluctant to ask the God Shooter Bao for help immediately. He wondered if he could scare the Martial Star Lord away, so he said, "I'll give you a chance now. If you leave now, I can pretend that I never saw you. Otherwise, you might never be able to leave. There was no other way. The opportunity to ask the God Shooter Bao for help was too precious. It could be said that the God Shooter Bao's 3 promises were equivalent to Mo Qingyun having 3 extra lives. Using one was equivalent to having 1 less life. Unless there was no other choice, Mo Qingyun wouldn't waste his life for no reason. Boy, do you think I'm a coward? You're just a 4th-level sky human stage boy. How dare you threaten me? Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the Martial Star Lord immediately showed a look of disdain and said disdainfully to Mo Qingyun, "Sigh." Seeing the Martial Star Lord's actions, Mo Qingyun sighed and shook his head helplessly. Looking at Mo Qingyun's current actions, it was unknown whether he was vexed by the failure of his threat or regretful that he had to use the God Shooter Bao once. Chapter 1240. A Bao. Seeing the God Shooter Bao in Mo Qingyun's hand, the Martial Star Lord was taken aback. He then mocked, "Kid, do you think you can stop me with a broken Bao? A kid who hasn't even obtained a star position dares to call himself a Star Lord in front of me? How shameless!" The God Shooter Bao immediately mocked the Martial Star Lord when he heard his self-righteous words. His tone was filled with disdain. Then, the God Shooter Bao's bowstring emitted a bright golden light. After the golden light appeared, a terrifying aura was emitted from the God Shooter Bao. The aura of a golden immortal expert. Sensing the aura from the God Shooter Bao, the Martial Star Lord was horrified. His face turned pale. A super expert of the golden immortal level was not someone he could contend against. Furthermore, what the God Shooter Bao had said was true as well. He had not even obtained a star position, and his cultivation had only just entered the true immortal realm. The true immortal realm also had 4 minor realms, namely the accumulated star position, the minor star position, the great star position, and the constellation position. Under normal circumstances, only true immortal experts who had obtained the constellation position were qualified to be called Star Lords. The Martial Star Lord before him was only in the accumulated star position, yet he claimed to be a Star Lord. He was really boasting. Just as the Martial Star Lord was horrified, a golden arrow was shot from the God Shooter Bao. It shot toward the Martial Star Lord domineeringly. "Say, Senior, please spare my life." Seeing the golden arrow shooting at him, the horror on the Martial Star Venerate's face immediately became even more intense. The God Shooter Bao chose to ignore the Martial Star Lord's pleas, and did not seem to slow down its attack. Poochie! The golden arrow flashed and pierced through the Martial Star Lord's head, killing him instantly. After being hit by the God Shooter Bao's powerful arrow, the Martial Star Lord's soul was instantly destroyed. Not even a trace of his soul was left. After killing the Martial Star Lord, the God Shooter Bao did not stay any longer. It turned into a golden light and entered the 5-directional pagoda. What a pity! Seeing that the Martial Star Lord's soul had been destroyed, Mo Qingyun revealed a look of pity and took out the qi and blood cauldron. Then, the Martial Star Lord's qi and blood were absorbed by the qi and blood cauldron. After collecting the Martial Star Lord's qi and blood, Mo Qingyun tossed the corpse into the 5-directional pagoda for Mo Zai to deal with. The Martial Star Lord was a true immortal. His corpse contained a huge amount of energy. It would be a pity to give it up. Mo Zai could refine the flesh and blood of others to increase her cultivation. If he refined the corpse of the Martial Star Lord, his cultivation would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. After everything was done, Mo Qingyun looked around before rushing towards the Iron Talon tribe. Now that the threat of the Martial Star Lord was gone, Mo Qingyun had nothing to worry about as he proceeded forward. Although there were still a few people in the peak of the Immortal Fog stage in the Iron Talon tribe, they could not stop Mo Qingyun. In the following days, Mo Qingyun hunted the iron earthworms as he rushed towards the Iron Talon tribe. In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed. It's time for training. Everyone, gather at the Iron Talon tribe immediately. At this moment, a huge illusory figure suddenly appeared in the sky above the Iron Talon tribe. Seeing the illusory figure in the sky above the Iron Talon tribe, Mo Qingyun quickened his pace and no longer hunted the ordinary iron earthworms. After a while, Mo Qingyun arrived at the Iron Talon tribe. He walked into the queue and waited for Niu Xing and Mo Zai's instructions. When everyone gathered and lined up, Mo Qingyun realized that the number of disciples on the training trip seemed to have decreased significantly. It seemed that they had died in the hands of the iron earthworms in the process of hunting. Let me tell you a piece of shocking news. In this training trip, a total of 124 disciples died here. Looking at Mo Qingyun and the others in front of him, Niu Xing said, "Since the Untainted Land, the war between the Deity Clan and the Immortal Clan has never stopped. Casualties like this training trip happen every day. If you don't want to die in the hands of the Deity Clan, you have to seize the time to improve your cultivation so that you can protect yourself in the Wasteland continent." Hearing Niu Xing's words, Mo Qingyun and the others fell silent. They understood what Niu Xing meant. Seeing that everyone was silent, Niu Xing did not say anything more. He turned around and walked out of the Iron Talon tribe, saying, "Since the training trip is over, follow me back to the Immortal Palace." After Niu Xing's words, he led Mo Qingyun and the others back to the Eternal South Immortal Palace. Mo Qingyun and the others had a heavy heart because more than 100 of their fellow disciples had died in just a few days. On the way back to the Eternal South Immortal Palace, everyone chose to remain silent and did not talk much with each other. They were all worried that they would end up like this in the next training mission. "I can't believe you're still alive." On the way back to the Eternal South Immortal Palace, Missouri Qingyun saw the one-armed Golden Face Mountain and smiled mockingly at him. Seeing Mo Qingyun's smile, Golden Face Mountain's expression trembled instinctively. He said with a frightened expression, "Mo Qingyun, don't be too proud. You've offended senior brother Yuan Xie. He won't let you go." "Yuan Xie?" Hearing Golden Face Mountain's words, Mo Qingyun smiled mockingly and looked at Yuan Xie in front of him. Sensing Mo Qingyun's gaze, Yuan Xie's expression turned cold. He turned his head and looked at Mo Qingyun. Then, Mo Qingyun and Yuan Xie confronted each other. Their gazes were filled with the smell of gunpowder. After confronting Mo Qingyun for a while, Yuan Xie smiled and made a beheading gesture. Then, Yuan Xie turned his head and ignored Mo Qingyun. Seeing Yuan Xie's reaction, Golden Face Mountain sneered and gloated, "Mo Qingyun, I admit that I've underestimated you and suffered a great loss at your hands. However, you're still too inexperienced to challenge senior brother Yuan Xie." Mo Qingyun ignored Golden Face Mountain's words and replied indifferently, "Don't worry. Although I can't take care of Yuan Xie now, I can still take care of you." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Golden Face Mountain's expression changed again. He stopped talking to Mo Qingyun. A few days later, Mo Qingyun and the rest returned to the Eternal South Immortal Palace at full speed. After returning to the Eternal South Immortal Palace, Niu Xing and Xiang Xie stopped in their tracks and instructed Mo Qingyun and the others, "All of you, follow me to the chore hall now. Next, we will calculate the vitality you have collected." Chapter 1241. The Chore Palace was located in the East Palace of the Eternal South Immortal Palace, not far from the misty Immortal Mansion. After a short while, under the guidance of Niu Xing and Yuan Wei, they arrived at the Chore Palace. In the Chore Palace, Missouri Qingyun saw a blood-red stone table, which was emitting a strange power. While Mo Qingyun was looking at the stone table, Niu Wei pointed at it with a serious face and said, "This is a low-grade sacred tool, the blood-testing stone. Put your blood chi cauldron on it, and it will calculate the amount of blood and qi contained in your cauldron. After introducing the stone, Niu Xing looked at Jizhua seriously and said, Jizhua, put your blood qi cauldron on the blood testing stone and check the amount of blood and qi in your cauldron. Yes. Jizhua nodded, walked to the blood testing stone, and put his blood qi cauldron on it. When the blood qi cauldron was put on the blood testing stone, the blood testing stone glowed brightly and formed a huge blood-red ball. After this huge blood-red ball was formed, the blood and qi in the blood qi cauldron flew out and formed a blood-red shadow in the ball. These shadows were the faces of the iron earthworms before they were killed. After a while, when all the blood and qi in the blood qi cauldron flew out, some words appeared on the blood testing stone. These words recorded Jizhua's hunting result. Late stage Immortal Dew Iron Earthworm Blood Qi 3. Middle stage Immortal Dew Iron Earthworm Blood Qi 7. Soon, the number of Iron Earthworm Blood Qi cauldron was recorded by everyone. After reading Jizhua's record, everyone was shocked, and they were even more in awe of Jizhua. In just a few days, Jizhua had killed nearly 1,000 Iron Earthworm Blood Qi cauldron. After Jizhua's record was recorded, it was Qian Guangxuan's turn to calculate the test results. At last, Qian Guangxuan's result was slightly worse than Jizhua's. But generally speaking, the difference between the two was not big, only the number of Iron Earthworm Blood Qi cauldron was different. Seeing Qian Guangxuan's result, Yuan Xie sneered complacently and walked quickly to the blood testing stone. Yuan Xie took out his qi and blood cauldron and placed it on the primeval blood testing stone. Not long after, qi and blood flew out of the qi and blood cauldron and transformed into a blood-red shadow in the blood-red sphere. After the shadow appeared, Yuan Xie's test results also came out. To everyone's surprise, Yuan Xie's result was even better than Qian Guangxuan's, between Qian Guangxuan and Jizhua's. More importantly, Yuan Xie hunted the strongest Iron Earthworm clan, who was at the peak of the Immortal Dew stage. Senior brother Yuan Xie is so powerful, he even killed a powerhouse at the peak of the Immortal Dew stage. In the Iron Earthworm tribe, only the great elder of the Iron Earthworm tribe has reached the peak of Immortal Dew. Could it be that senior brother Yuan Xie killed him? If that's the case, senior brother Yuan Xie is so powerful. I'm afraid he will surpass senior brother Jizhua in the future. After seeing Yuan Xie's results, everyone had a shocked expression on their faces. They admired Yuan Xie to the extreme. After seeing Yuan Xie's result, Qian Guangxuan frowned and said with a doubtful expression, Senior Xiang Xie, Senior Niu Xing, I think Yuan Xie's result is fake. With his cultivation at the middle stage of the Immortal Dew stage, it is impossible for him to kill a powerhouse at the peak of the Immortal Dew stage. Qian Guangxuan, is that all you can do? You have to question others' results after losing? Yuan Xie sneered at Qian Guangxuan's doubtful words and said, What you said is true. I can't kill a powerhouse at the peak of the Immortal Dew stage, but what about a powerhouse at the peak of the Immortal Dew stage who was seriously injured? Hearing Yuan Xie's words, Qian Guangxuan was speechless and didn't know how to refute Yuan Xie. If what Yuan Xie said was true, there was nothing to doubt that he could kill a powerhouse at the peak of the Immortal Dew stage. Seeing Yuan Xie and Qian Guangxuan arguing, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and muttered to himself, If that's the case, then there's a reasonable explanation for me killing the Martial Star Lord of the true Immortal Realm. Originally, Mo Qingyun was still thinking about how to explain to everyone if they doubted his ability to kill a powerhouse at the true Immortal Realm. Now, Yuan Xie's behavior gave him an inspiration and he knew how to respond to everyone. The following people's results didn't surpass Qian Guangxuan and the other two, and there was a gap between them. About 2 hours later, it was finally Mo Qingyun's turn to count the results. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun walked towards the primordial blood testing stone and quickly walked in front of it. Seeing Mo Qingyun walking to the untainted blood testing stone, Yuan Xie, Yun Xing, and 100 Changes Golden Peak immediately became serious. They all wanted to know how Mo Qingyun's results were. Then, under everyone's gaze, Mo Qingyun put the blood and qi cauldron on the untainted blood testing stone. Then, blood and qi flew out of the blood and qi cauldron and turned into a blood shadow in the blood ball. After a while, when everyone saw Mo Qingyun's results, they were all stunned. More than 30,000, the number of iron earthworms killed by Mo Qingyun had reached a terrifying number. Such a number seemed to be equivalent to the total number of Jizhua's 20 people, which was really abnormal. However, before everyone could recover from the shock, they were even more shocked. True Immortal Realm, the blood and qi in Mo Qingyun's blood and qi cauldron belonged to a powerhouse at the True Immortal Realm. Looking at the blood and qi cauldron, everyone could tell that it was the three-headed hellhound of the Iron Earthworm tribe. The three-headed hellhound of the Iron Earthworm tribe was killed by Mo Qingyun? When everyone received such a result, they felt their heads buzzing and their brains were not enough to comprehend it. A person with a cultivation base at the 4th level of the Sky Human Realm had killed the three-headed hellhound of the True Immortal Realm. Was there anything more ridiculous than this? Seeing this scene, Xiang Xie and Niu Xing could not help but look at each other and see the strong shock in each other's eyes. The two of them were very clear about the strength of the three-headed hellhound. Although the three-headed hellhound's cultivation base was still at the profound star level, its strength was comparable to a minor star-level powerhouse. However, such a powerful existence was killed by Mo Qingyun. Xiang Xie and Niu Xing found it hard to believe. Cheating, Mo Qingyun must have cheated. With his cultivation base at the 4th level of the Sky Human Realm, how could he kill a true Immortal Realm powerhouse? After a short moment of being stunned, Yuan Xie showed a shocked expression and expressed his doubts about Mo Qingyun's achievement. Seeing Yuan Xie's reaction, everyone showed a look of disdain for him in their hearts. Yuan Chun killed an Iron Earthworm tribe member at the peak of the Immortal Dew stage, which was his own strength. Mo Qingyun killed the three-headed hellhound of the True Immortal Realm, which was cheating. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.